Sometimes I think about, does love still exist? Yeah, I have my doubts. On the street, I check out how brothers be living. Yo, let's just say, kid, it ain't no Thanksgiving. We got people shooting dope, ain't never heard of hope. We got others with the gat and the brothers with the fucking scope. As I enter the project center rec rooms, some brothers might see the doom. I see my nigga Paulo, fat pockets of papes. He knows the neighborhood biddies with all the dopest shapes. There goes Rollo with the blowout fro. He's got a gat, ayo niggas gots to go. No show is live when narrating, fuck Memorex. My nigga Rollo's got a gat at Paulo's chest. One slug blasted out, down boy died. Now show me some love, kid, it sounds like a fucking lie. And yes, you know the struggle goes on. People trying to survive, hold on. But we know it's been so long. Pain without a limit, so wrong. Sometimes I think how the world come to this, a place where every man and woman needs a therapist. Mass confusion, people living in delusion, justify all the bullshit through the Constitution. Meanwhile, the masses struggle to survive. I think we're too busy to hear our people's cries. Singles mothers struggle to raise families. Genocide committed through famine and disease. I wonder if these things will ever cease to exist. I know it could if we cease and desist. Giving all the power to the industrialists, giving all our power to the damn commercialists. They see us just as being sheep in this world, that want us to do what we're told like boys and girls. Oh God, I wanna live another day so I can help provide equality and this day. You know the struggle goes on. People trying to survive, hold on. But we know it's been so long. Pain without a limit, so wrong. Everybody around the globe, open up your earlobe, your third eye, and then decipher the code. Through knowledge, understanding, then bring love into the concept instead of bling bling. Truth instead of biased educational methods. Twisting, contorting God's message of love for every human being. Listen, motherfucker, don't you hear the screams? It's time to do much more than talk, debate, and spread hate. We need to think and at the same time investigate. Understand what our actions may create. Before continuing the cycle we procreate. We can clone humans, but at the same time we can't feed humans. The future of man is actually looming. It's really depressing, it's true. And yes, you know the struggle goes on. People trying to survive, hold on. But we know it's been so long. Pain without a limit, so wrong. Can you feel it? Nothing can save ya, cause this is the season of funky behavior. I came to relax your mind, you can recline. On what? On this here rhyme. I like the style, I'm staying for a while. It helps me show cats that I'm versatile. I'll touch your dial, turn your frown to a smile. I'll make you feel like you're having a child. So relax and open up, child. I'm about to make you walk what? Pimp style or pimped out style. You don't understand the logic. See if you don't have it all, I'll take a deposit. I got shit for you, it's alright indeed. It's like going to the garden and planting the seed. You might tickle for a second, but it won't bleed. So just relax, just hear a dope track. Your vibes is real nice, everything is real fat. You don't have to do work, we do that. It's the type of place where you could wear your hat. Just relax, and just hear a dope track. Your vibes is real nice, everything is real fat. You don't have to do work, we do that. It's the type of place where you could wear your hat. Your entertainment, at the same time edutainment. In other words, you could call it bet. What I'm saying is that I'm here at your service. It's hard work, but then again, I deserve this. I'm helping people enjoy their spare time. I'm like an instructor when I'm doing my rhyme. Relax and just hear the dope track. It's really not all that, it's not like a gag. We like that when everything is relaxed and chill. You don't have to get fucked up or take pills, cause I like being myself, it feels good. Yo, it makes my meals taste good. 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 So just relax. It's your dope track. The vibes is real nice, everything is real bad. You don't have to do work, we do that. It's the type of place where you can wear your hat. Just relax and hear a dope track. The vibes is real nice, everything is real bad. You don't have to do work, we do that. It's the type of place where you can wear your hat. Just relax. My mind state, now balloon, it won't inflate. Just take the buzz, it's much wiser, kid, fuck the shade. And take it to a lower level, and dig a ditch for a devil. Got some more kids and pass the shovel. Dig a hole, take them on a spiritual roll. Lyrics unfold, either that or unroll the scroll. Episodes keep reoccurring and stifling people's vision get blurring. Their hearts start
Check. Alright, y'all, here we go again. We back at it. And it is the 14th, Sunday, December 2025. Central European time is 9:12 in the morning, and that makes it 3:12 in the late night hours in the Eastern Standard Time of the USA. And that will make it what, 12 or 1? Something, is it 12 or 1? I think it's 12 on the Pacific, right? 13 on the Pacific. And yeah, so I'm back at it again. Greetings. Just want to say what's up to everyone around the world, you know, no matter where you are. It's interesting watching the U.S. Because everybody gets that on cable TV. You get it on the internet. There's a lot of coverage, you know, obviously in the English language. So a lot of people can understand English around the world. So people actually do tune in, you know, and that's one powerful thing about that language is a lot of people speak it across the globe. You know, not everywhere, of course, not everywhere. There's other languages. I mean, there's a big percentage of people that speak Spanish. There's a big percentage of people that speak a lot of different languages, right? I don't want to go into all of that, but you get the point. But English is one that a lot of people speak in many places. So therefore, people do tend to tune in on their own from different places. So greetings to everybody. Now, yesterday, I opened up my opener. You know, I talked a lot about identity. And, you know, I never really thought about it because, don't get me wrong, I've had discussions and studied and done research on identity, you know, but just not American identity. You know what I'm saying? Like, really, straight up, I haven't. Usually the research that I've done on identity when it deals with identity politics is not your nationality, right? And also more specifically, I've been doing it overseas. And so the focus has not been on American ethnicity, right? So for the first time, it really dawned on me that, damn, man, a lot of this behavior regarding Americans, some of it at least, you know, or a part of it, not a lot or some, but no matter how much it is, a part of it is sure to be based on how people define themselves, you know, their actual identity. Like, what parts do they take from, you know, because it really does matter. And it's very different from people to people. But I could tell you one thing: the U.S. is very, very different. America is very, very different. And not just the U.S. America is very, very different when it comes to that, because these ethnicities are different and relatively, you know, new, actually, but different. For example, identity, a lot of times it has something to do with the land you come from, right? You could interpret that as nationality, but when you deal with identity, you're also dealing with history too. You're dealing with your family's part, you know, that part of it that's given to you by your family, how your family defined themselves and their history, where they come from, what their story was like, who they are. in that particular way as a family line, right? And a lot of times when you get into that in the U.S., you find out that most Americans, if you're not Native American, then that part changes to another place on earth, like very fast. For a lot of groups of people, it goes back to wherever they came from. It could be Africa, it could be Europe, it could be Asia, it could be, it could be Arabia for that matter. It could be anywhere, right? The Middle East, if you want to call it that, right? It could be a lot of different places. And also, what goes along with that can be quite complicated, And even when Americans begin to talk about religion, it becomes kind of interesting too, because religion plays a part in the history of the United States, and the role that it played in the United States is very interesting too. But in any point, the main point that I was trying to land is that we look a lot of times at color, right? We look a lot of times at color, and we also have this amnesia thing where we forget that we don't come from America. We pretend and we act out on others like we're checking other people. When did you get here? Show me your papers. You're illegal. Defining people as illegal, when in the United States of America, the truth is that it was not negotiated peacefully. You could say that the acquiring of the nation was not negotiated peacefully. No, it started on the East with settlers, and then through disinformation, selling the idea that people were savages and barbarians, even though you're trading with these people, and these people are different groups of natives, and that are happy to work with, some happy to work with newcomers, others not so happy, right? It's a mixed bag, right? Because natives are different tribes of Americans, right? Not one tribe, and they're not all the same, and they all don't have the exact same beliefs, but or history, even some of them, right? But in any point, it spread across the U.S. from east to west. Friars, hey, what's up? It spread it across from the east to the west. It didn't just start like, hey, everybody, here we are. It's the United States of America, from the Atlantic to the Pacific. No, it took some time, and and it was a lot of violence. And it's not violence one way or the other. I mean, but my point is this: the amnesia. When we're checking other people and we're pretending that we're assuming the role of the one who is right and the one who makes decisions and right based on history, we should at least get the history correct and not do the amnesia game. And a lot of times when it comes to identity, a lot of people play the amnesia game, and I know why that is, because if you always have to go back to your immigrant place, your immigrant roots, that wouldn't be so convenient when you're kicking somebody else out the country. You know what I'm saying? If you always had to go back to your immigrant roots, you know what I'm saying? That you would feel shame, pretty much. You should, if you have any type of, how can I say this? Human connection to other people. Wouldn't it be hypocritical? I mean, wouldn't it be? And look, and it's not just the thing about checking the papers. It's the thing about the violent reaction to immigrants. Like, that's interesting, because guess who else had a violent reaction? And they weren't immigrants. Native Americans got a violent reaction from people also, and it was their home. And isn't that ironic? Like, you see what I mean? Like, there's a lot that's not good here. And I think the dishonesty, really is the problem in the United States of America. It's the dishonesty about those immigrant roots, and it's the responsibility, in honoring those roots, should be in how you treat others. You see what I mean? The lesson should really be in how you treat others. I mean, given the fact that we had a violent start to the country, extremely violent, genocidal violent on women, violent on many different groups of people. I mean, we should at least honor that history and treat people nicely, you know, treat people kindly. You see what I mean? Something should have came out of that violent past, like a respect, similar to what came out of a lot of other people's violent past. I mean, I live in Denmark. Denmark wasn't always, Denmark had a revolution in the 60s, by the way, economic revolution where people were like, hey, we're tired of this rich versus poor shit. And yeah, it changed since then, totally changed. Not totally changed, but that part about how the wealth is going to be spread out in this bad boy, that changed because Danish people, right? And by the way, Denmark's been a country for 1,000 years, pretty much. It goes back in history, right? But maybe not. I don't know. Is it 1,000 years? It's old. It's an old kingdom. Denmark is an old kingdom, right? But in any case, this history, people usually when they look back at history, they see where they come from and then they see where they're at and they say, hey, man, we got to do something if we want this thing to survive. If we want this thing to exist, we got to do something. We got to make some revolutionary change. Oh, let me see who's that in the chat. Piscataway, Maryland. Is that where you from? Okay. Yeah. Do me a favor. Let me know where you're from when you come in the chat too, or where you're at, right? But and also there's a up on the what is this? A poll. Yeah, you could take this poll. I just asked the question: how many of you, if you're an American citizen, how many of you have traveled outside of the country at least once, right? But in any case, on and on. But you see there's a lot of people that look back and look at those hard times and say, you know what? We have to do something to balance the slate because we know who we are as Americans, or we know who we are as Danes, and we know it hasn't always been fair and good. So what can we do to help our people survive? You know what I mean? And that encouraged that revolution, Also, there was other revolution, women's revolution for the right to vote. That also came. You see what I mean? And before that, you see, that came even before that, and in the U.S. And today, when you look at it, Denmark has a female prime minister, and it's not the first one. You see how that works? The U.S., think about how ironic this is. U.S. never had a female president, but it also never really had a reset button. A button where it said, yo, let's honor our past and in acknowledging our past, because motherfuckers don't acknowledge their past. Their immigrant roots, not as a whole body. You know what I'm saying? Honor it and say, what can we do since we had this violent past? What can we do to set the slate clean? Number one, we have a lot of women. There hasn't really been female justice for women in the United States of America. And it's reflected in the fact that we've never had a female president. It's reflected in that. The economics. Look, when you look at the White House and you see them open up these meetings and you look at all these agency heads and all this. Yeah, you might have a couple of women, Pam Bondi. The rest of them are fucking men, man. I'm tired of looking at them. I'm tired of looking at them lame ass men, dude. I'm tired. What the fuck you got? Kennedy. What the hell? He sounds like he's about to fucking die when he speaks. It's like agony. It's like, man, if it's that hard to speak, just shut the fuck up and get an interpreter. Learn sign language or something. Kennedy, God damn it. He makes me feel like I'm dying and shit. It's like, is speech supposed to sound like death? What the fuck? And the rest of them are just as lame. You know what I'm saying? Oh, this is some shit. Yeah, we've had one female vice president in the U.S. But it's just an example. It's just an example. We've had, there's the good and the bad. We've had one female vice president, but the point is that we've never had a reset button based on the history of our country that acknowledges the violent history of our country, the real history of our country. You see what I mean? We're not going to survive without doing that as a nation of people. And all of Europe, all these European nations have done that. The United States of America has not. These European nations, they did that in the 50s and 60s. The United States of fucking America, it hasn't. It hasn't done that. And it's reflected in the outcomes. It's reflected in the tax system. It's reflected in the rich, the few 1% controlling every goddamn thing versus what economic justice for everyone else that contributed to the country. You see what I mean? Like, it's reflected in everything. It's reflected in every way of life. Somebody said and Europe is who told you that? Do you live in Europe? Where do you live in Europe? I think Trump been lying to you, and I think you believe anything Trump says. He said Europe is falling. Okay, well, somebody just went up in a university yesterday and shot up a bunch of people in the United States of America. Did you hear about that? Is that not? What is that? What is that? How many times is that happening? Somebody just gets mass shooting up in the United States of America. You want to talk about falling? Like, please, your Americans are having a very hard time, and the reset button. Also, the fact that the U.S. has never reset from its violent history, from its violent roots, right? It's reflected in the fact that a guy could drive from Washington with a weapon that's not even registered. Washington State, right? A guy who just got his visa, he just got his asylum, he can drive across the country with an unregistered weapon, drive to Washington, D.C., all the way to the opposite side of the country. That takes 4 or 5 days if you want to get there. And then shoots 2 National Guard members, and they can't even tell you if the weapon is illegal. They can't even tell you that. That's how complex the gun laws are in the U.S. And why are the gun laws that way? It's based on the U.S.'s violent history. It is. It's based on that, the distribution of guns to do what? Conquer a land. But that's not Denmark. That's not Denmark. They didn't conquer this land with guns. You see what I'm saying? This land wasn't created with guns. It wasn't. I mean, if it was, it's so far back, not with guns, but when they didn't even have guns when it was created, the Kingdom of Denmark. You see what I mean? But it goes so far back. It goes so far back. In the U.S., that is like 1950. The violence goes just back to what? 100 years ago? I mean, look at the turn of the century in the United States of America. I mean, what was going on? You know what I mean? So the U.S. has a lot of looking at its own history, and I think that the way this ICE thing goes on, the way the election went, the fact that it's all about immigration, nothing about health care, nothing about education, nothing about clean water, nothing about daily expenses like affordability. Zero. That wasn't a priority at all. And the people that voted didn't want it to be a priority. That tells you a lot. How this thing about immigrant, ding, 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 comes up in the immigrant's mind a lot. The immigrant nation, ding, 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 they're projecting now against immigrants when they were the immigrant. The same way they're projecting against the new immigrant is the same way many people projected against the Native Americans. They called the Native Americans savages and barbarians. So there you go. In any case, we were talking about that yesterday. But today, it's going to be reflected. I just realized it's going to be reflected in everything that we cover. All the news is going to be reflected in it because, I don't know how many of you have read Wretched of the Earth, by Frantz Fanon. It was talking, that book is about the effects of colonization on African people, right? in the diaspora, right? But the truth of the matter is that, the people who colonized them can't be too far off, because those people that colonized them live in nations that their ancestors don't come from also. You see what I mean? So they have to create a mechanism in their mind, an identity that is different from the one where their ancestors came from, in order to survive, as a survival mechanism. So you can transpose a lot of what Frantz Fanon said about the effects of colonization on African people, and transpose a lot of it to their colonizers, and that built lives in those new lands, specifically the United States of America. Anything that was discovered about the mind of the colonized, you can find something in there about the colonizer's descendants too, and what they have to create in their mind in order to survive, as a survival mechanism, and it's pretty much some monstrous shit there. It's pretty much some monstrous shit. People make a lot of excuses, and I'm just saying in general, people make a lot of excuses for their behavior, right? And largely it's because they're not confronting the central truth. And the central truth is, how did they get there? What happened when they got there? Who are they really? Is the central truth. You see what I mean? And I think Europeans have a lot easier time with that when they're talking about identity. Africans have an easier time with that when they're talking about identity when they're in Africa. Europeans in Europe have an easier time dealing with that because they don't have to explain anything. They're standing on the land their ancestors have been, in speaking the language that their ancestors spoke. That's not America. Even the colonizer descendants in America don't even speak the language their ancestors spoke. Can you dig it? Like, that's weird. I mean, I'm talking about in terms of to transpose it over, like a person with German descent has to now say, I speak English and it's my language. It's me. It's connected to me. No, it's not connected to you. You just adopted it. It's not the same. It's not the same. It's not the same experience because your ancestors weren't English, right? I mean, did your ancestors hang out with the English when they first came to America, or did they despise them a little bit? Like, you tell me. You see what I mean? A lot has to be changed, adopted. A fiction almost has to be created, and a lot of people created some sort of fiction in their mind. You see what I mean? To address, power dynamics. Who has rights? Who is American and who's not? This kind of thing is based on that, right? Don't remember when they tell you this is America, speak English. Yeah, I get it. Countries have languages, but when you say that in the United States of America, that's it has a little extra weird ring, because most Americans don't come from English descent, don't come from England. Most don't. The majority of the largest group, I believe, of European descent are Germans, I believe. Not English, right? And Lord knows there were so many other different Europeans, and that wasn't English either. Then there's others, right? Coming from different places. Africa, that's not English. You see what I mean? So there's a whole lot of strange shit going on, I think, and it's one thing to be confused, but if you treat people kindly, you can never go wrong. The big problem is when you're violently judging people, saying something stupid like that, judging them on something that you made up, basically. Judging them on something you made up, changing the rules. Like, these rules apply to them, but they don't apply to me. You know what I'm saying? Because of what? Because of what reason? Then we're in the country with the 14th Amendment. I mean, you get what I'm saying? So they didn't even acknowledge everybody then. Where's the justice happened? Where has the reset button happened, where they said, you know what? A lot of harm was created, and sure, we tried to fix it with the 14th Amendment, but it didn't go far enough. You see what I mean? reparative justice in general, it hasn't happened in the U.S., man. Europe, it really did happen largely after the Marshall Plan. So it did well. People chose to build lives where they reset the button to make sure it would be fair for everybody. And to be honest with you, Europeans are far more happier than Americans. Like just flat out the gate. You have to understand that. Yeah. Most Europeans are far more happier. And when you judge it, you will find out that Sweden, Norway, Denmark might even be some of the happiest places on earth. They're judged as the happy people that are happy with their system, with their life, their way of life, just generally happy. You know what I mean? Not like ha 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 ha, but just satisfied. Americans aren't satisfied, and it's okay to not be satisfied, but it's wrong to say, but this is how it is. I'm not satisfied, but hey, that's life. That's a little strange, But in any case, let's hear a little bit. Speaking of negotiating identity, guess who we're going to hear? We're going to start off by listening to a little Caroline Levitt. And I want you to think about what I was saying when she speaks too. The way that she speaks, how she speaks about people. Because she has a way of talking, and you just have to tell me whether it makes sense or not.
Economic front, after inheriting the worst inflation.
Shit don't make sense to me, what she says a lot of it. But keep in mind, she just, after identity, she just turned her own nephew's mother into ICE, and she's all on the TV. The mother now is all on the TV saying Caroline Levitt basically sicked the fucking police on her and lied about her. I mean, this is what I'm talking about, identity. It's crazy, but let's get there. Let's start here.
January 20th has been nothing short of remarkable. While most politicians promise big on the campaign trail and break those promises once they get into office, President Trump promised big and has delivered even bigger.
Hey, whatever, Thomas. Hey, it doesn't. You could feel free to feel however you want. I live in Europe, so I'm just giving my view on it. Right, as an American living in Europe, some of my reflections since I'm born and raised in Washington D.C. Moved to Europe when I was 30 years old. Right, my family, both sides of my family go back to the colonial period in the U.S. I have huge, enormous family across the U.S. It's just my reflection. You don't have to agree. You know what I mean? You don't have to agree at all. No.
On the economic
and
front,
by the way, were your ancestors English? I'm just curious. Were they English? Just curious about that. And are you on your ancestors' land? Just curious. Is that where they come from? I'm just curious. I mean, since your family's immigrants, right? Okay.
Front, after inheriting the worst inflation crisis in over 4 decades, President Trump's pro-growth policies are making tremendous progress to make America affordable again. Under the painful Biden years, inflation reached a record high 9% and devoured Americans' purchasing power. In President Trump's term thus far, inflation has dropped to an average of just 2.7%, marking critical progress. The Trump administration is working hard every single day to bring down the cost of living through bigger paychecks and lower prices. Real wages are finally on the rise again and on pace to increase to roughly $1,200 for the average American worker this year. To put that into perspective, real wages declined by almost $3,000 under the Biden administration.
Hey, there you go, Flowers. And so you see, you got Thomas. Thomas is speaking your ancestors' language. And so am I. But I can say it. You know what I mean? I can actually say it. I'm not too sure if Thomas can understand that. I don't know. I'm curious because, this is the thing. And when I say acknowledge the history, I'm not talking about one group of people. I'm not just talking about just women, how hard it was on women. I'm not talking about how hard it was on African Americans. I'm not talking about how hard it was on natives. I'm not talking about one or two or three group of people. I'm saying acknowledge all the things, actually. Acknowledge all the things. Don't get amnesia when you start dealing with immigrants. Don't ever forget you're an immigrant, and don't ever forget how the United States of America was built, okay, on violence. largely. It was a very violent time where even European descendants didn't treat each other so nicely or trust each other all the time. You see what I mean? It's important to recognize that, right? So that we don't project something else, you know what I mean, on others. You see what I mean? You see what I'm saying? Like, and get away from these phony identities that really are destructive in the end because they're not factual. You see what I mean? In order to be a healthy person and be reasonable, it has to be based on facts, not make believe. You see what I'm saying? Because people that tend to whitewash things or make believe them up, turn them into fairy tales, right, tend to treat others poorly. Actually, that's my view of it. That's what I'm trying to get out of there. But let's listen to some more. But on the other side, you shouldn't make people feel ashamed for their ethnicity or their family heritage. You see what I'm saying? You see what I mean? Where I'm going with this? But we are doing that right now. We're making people feel ashamed for their ethnicities. You know what I mean? Yeah. And we're pointing fingers at people, while we're forgetting that, damn, we're living on land where genocide was committed. You see what I mean? Like, we're not speaking an American language in America. Like, so when we're out there pointing the finger at other people, it's one thing to say they're illegal. It's another thing to violently go after people. That's different. That means something else is going on in your brain. You see what I mean? That's a different scenario going on. That's what I'm saying. That's just one side, but.
Administration. That means Americans right now are on track already to make up 1/3 of the.
Oh, somebody said, "What's my ancestors' original language?" To be honest with you, I don't really know my ancestors' original language. I don't really know that. But the thing about it is that I'm comfortable talking about it. I'm comfortable, and how I treat people is based on that. You see what I'm saying? My identity is not built on something like make believe. You see what I mean? I don't have to uphold something that's not real because I took a DNA test. You see what I'm saying? And there's a lot of people that their identities are based on family stories, not DNA. You see what I mean? And a lot of times that gets in their brain too, in an arrogant kind of way. This Puritan type of thing, this ownership thing. People try to make believe whatever best scenario they can have for themselves. But I definitely am into science and into DNA. So in terms of these kind of scenarios, I mean, that's a real eye opener in terms of judging people. You see what I'm saying? When we look at, what we really are. So, but I don't know my ancestors' language, and it's likely to be multiple languages. You see what I mean? And in terms of ethnicity, it's likely to be multiple ethnicities too. You see what I mean? Because these are the untold stories. I mean, that's what DNA gets into. DNA tells you that, hey, you got a whole lot of different things in there. You see what I mean? I have like 1% Somali. Like seriously, I got 1% Somali. Can't account for it in my family's verbal history. You see what I'm saying? But I know that I have multiple. I have like African, European, and I guess you could say Iberian Peninsula also. I got Northern European, West African, East African, and Iberian Peninsula. Right? You see what I'm saying? So I can in my DNA. So I know that that's multiple different languages. But then again, I'm not the one who's walking around on the street harassing people. Where are you from? What language do you speak? Do you speak an American language? Like, what's an American language? What is an American language? Let's be factual. An American language is not fucking English. We have to get that straight. That it is not English, and you don't have to make believe that it's English, and you don't have to operate with impunity. You could also help preserve some Native American languages, since it is America and that's what decent people do. I mean, horrible people would try to fucking wipe them out, get rid of them, erase them. You know what I'm saying? Destroyed. We don't even want to take no Native American language classes in our fucking elementary, in our high schools. You know what I'm saying? In our middle schools. Isn't that crazy? Isn't that crazy? I mean, isn't that crazy? It's one thing to have English as a or any one language, you know what I'm saying? Or two languages, whatever it is. It's one thing to have a national language. That's not a big deal. That's not an issue, right? A national language. But the thing is that, you know, if you walk around in the United States of America, because this identity thing is very particular, and you're talking like you're completely, utterly opposed to any type of change, right? And it's just absolute this thing. It's like then you're living in an illusion, because you know, it's like the fact that it's English is just out of chance. It was just people found that, I guess they found American English is really a mixture of different European languages. It's not English like in London. It's not London English. You know what I mean? It's not Scottish English. It's not, it's actually a mixture. So it has a lot of German words in it, has a lot of Latin words in it, you know, and things like that. So, so it is actually a different language. It's a different language. And so when we start saying these things, you know, it's kind of like English, this is the language. It's like, then when you ask the person that says that English, what's the language? It's English, only English. And then you say, okay, well, what kind of English you speak? What is the American English based on? They wouldn't even be able to tell you. You know what I'm saying? Like, so you don't want people enforcing things and making the choices that don't know shit about the country. You don't want someone making all the choices that doesn't know anything about the history, doesn't acknowledge none of the history and how they treat people and the expectations that they have. You don't want morons leading. I'm telling you, you know, and that's what I'm essentially saying, you know, the whole idea that we're hunting down people because they speak Spanish. Wow. That's really weird. We're hunting down other people to speak other European languages and shit. I mean, literally, look, if you come from Spain and you got a visa, you're fucked, because right now they're literally looking for anybody that's speaking Spanish because they don't like Mexicans and don't like South Americans. But that's also a crazy ass thing, because a lot of those people, Mexicans and people, they're not just Mexican. That's a nationality. A lot of them are Native Americans. Straight up. You know, and if we know the wars that our country had, a lot of them were kicked out. You see what I'm saying? Like, really? You know, so, I mean, there were some issues. That's part of American history. You see what I mean? But, I don't know. But in any case, let's hear some more about Caroline. Let's see.
The 3,000 in lost wages under Joe Biden. There's much work to do, but this has already been significant progress. President Trump has also delivered resoundingly on his promise to end Joe Biden's insane war on American energy and make sure our country has reliable and affordable energy.
Look, she's like, Joe Biden's insane war on American energy. What was the insane war on American energy? Well, I never heard of that. Where did that war come from? That, you see what I mean by making up history? This is the same thing. This is the same bullshit. Just make it up as you go along. Just lie to people. And since you're the government, that's how it's going to be. We're going to make it up, everybody. You know, Joe Biden didn't have a war on energy. He tried to diversify energy. And they were like, no. It's got to be a monopoly. We want the oil companies to control your life. We want OPEC to control the cost of goods in America. We don't want no electric energy for cars. We don't want diversity in transportation. We don't want diversity in English. I mean, in energy. I'm sorry. We don't want it. And she's calling that a war. You know, it's like saying We waged a war against slavery. Like, that's bad and shit. You know, it's really like that. Like, you doing something wrong because you want more options for energy. That's doing something wrong for the American people. They literally called it a war. Like, it's gaslighting. It's gaslighting. The U.S. sold more oil than in its history than it ever had under Biden before. He expanded oil. He sold more and expanded oil. And they're talking about we waged a war on American energy. It's totally insane. It's totally insane. I mean, and I just want to remind people that this is the same bullshit. This is the same bullshit that I'm talking about here. What is behind her feelings, her emotions, and why she's willing to do this? Part of it is how she identifies herself, what that is composed of. I'm not just saying ethnicity. Look, she wears a cross. She wears a cross. I mean, I'm not saying that you can't wear a cross. I don't have a problem with people in their religions. You know, if I don't believe in it, that's different than me having a problem with it. But she voluntarily wears the cross. She's voluntarily claiming to be Christian, right? So that's a part of her identity, right? But let's be honest. Most Europeans know Christianity because it came with a sword. It didn't just expand with flowers and roses and shit. It expanded from southern Europe, from Rome, and came north with a sword. You know what I'm saying? It burnt people. It burnt people, you know, on the stake. You had to be goddamn Christian. They took the Vikings and they took all the other people with their indigenous religions and eliminated it, like, you know, totally converted them with a sword. And now she's over in America wearing a cross. This is facts. This is what I'm talking about. It's but in her mind, that's an identity marker for an American. I'm just saying, it is so true. It's so true what I'm saying. This is her identity marker. You know what I'm saying? And it's important. It's important for her. You see what I'm saying? It's just totally weird. It's totally weird, you know. But anyway, let's go on.
Produced right here at home. As a result, the nationwide average for regular gas just fell to its lowest level in nearly 5 years. According to data from GasBuddy released on Monday, average gas prices have now dipped below $3 per gallon in 37 states, below $2.75 per gallon in 22 states, and below $2.50 per gallon in 5 states. Just a few years ago, we saw record high price gas of nearly $5 per gallon. American families faced constant pain at the pump, and those costs caused the price of everything else.
Yo, exactly. Listen, hold on. Who is this who said that? Yo, somebody said Europe is losing. Like, are you out of your motherfucking mind? It's like, who is making this stuff up? It's not to say somebody's better than the other, but goddamn, it's these Americans that are claiming they're better than other people, you know. And I'm not saying they're saying that directly, but the way they're talking down to other people, that it's because they're that's the same thing. You know, you can't talk down to people unless you claim that you're better, right? So, who said this? Let me see. Yes, in that, right? It said, did I say their name right? Said Europe is not losing. We have health care, only one job, 8 hours, 40 hours a week. That is unheard of in the USA. It is unheard of. And let me tell you, I have less than 40 hours a week myself, like straight up. I have less than 40. I mean, I have a full-time job, but it's less. You know, technically, to be honest, to have a full-time job, for me to have my full-time job, I only have to work 32 hours. I'm going to be honest. And in Denmark, I think 36 hours is typically full time, but for me it's actually 32 hours because of because you know, a lot of times I'm working in the evening, in the middle of the night, and things like that. So nighttime, you know, the more time I work in the night, the less that goes down. You know, it has to be. But you know, it's a full-time job, and you know, it's a union job. You know, and you know, so I don't know who these Americans are that spread that information. You know, it's part of the bot system. So Russia is trying to sell that idea. You know, Russia wants to confuse people, right? You know, so whatever the talking points are, at first it's like the U.S., you know, but now that Putin is trying to back up Trump in some kind of way. So now it's Europe. Now they're targeting Europe, and the whole thing they're going to be targeting Europe with is that type of thing. Europe is falling. Europe is on fire. You know, Europe is broke. Europe is, you know, people are panicking. People are, you know, freedom of speech. It's like that's what they're trying to do now, the disinformation campaign for Europe. But anyone who has any brains, right, won't just believe a bot just because so they said it, right? You would actually go look up the data because it's public data. You can look it up yourself. You see what I mean? But you know, in any case, let's hear Caroline Levitt. She's gonna get into talking about you know, saying that Abrego Garcia is like, you know, go back to that same old lie again. He's a trafficker. He's a this. He's a that. Never went to court and proved any of it. It's years now, and they still won't take the man to court for trafficking. Why? Why not? When are they going to charge him with trafficking? When are they going to charge him with any of the goddamn crimes they say he's doing? And never. They just don't want to charge him of a fucking crime. It's like, when is it going to end? But
to go up as well. In fact, the average cost for a gallon of regular gas in the country was the most expensive price.
Oh, you got a T-shirt bits. Okay. Oh, shit. All right, let me check that out. I'm going to check that out. Damn, which one did you get?
A presidential term in U.S. history under Biden's disastrous leadership, even with them recklessly draining our strategic reserves to try and artificially decrease prices. But thanks to President Trump, those days are long behind us. In the months ahead, Americans can expect prices to fall even further. We know that when gas gets cheaper, everything else gets cheaper too, and that's what this president is focusing on. Americans can also expect another boost to their bank accounts in the months ahead, as 2026 tax refund season is upon us after the holidays, and it's projected to be the largest ever thanks to President Trump's passage of the One Big Beautiful Bill. According to recent analysis from Piper Sandler, when Americans file their taxes early next year, their refunds could be about one-third larger than usual, or roughly an extra $1,000 per filer. That is money straight into the pockets of the American people. It's only because of President Trump and Republicans' leadership that Americans will now pay no tax on tips, overtime, and Social Security. President Trump and Republicans believe hardworking Americans deserve to keep more of their hard-earned money, but Democrats, on the other hand, every single one of them, voted against these massive tax cuts. So remember that the next time Democrats try to talk about affordability. Democrats don't have a single clue about how to make America more affordable. They just spent the last 4 years creating the very affordability crisis that President Trump is fixing right now. And if given the chance of power ever again, the Democrats will implement those same policies and jack inflation right back up to where it was. Finally, at the border, President Trump has restored America's sovereignty and made our country safe again.
I mean, inflation was lower. So that's the damn problem. It's like, what is she talking about? What's she talking about? Jack it back up to where it was? That's what people want. Please jack it back up to where it was. She calls up down and down up and shit, you know?
This is the single greatest and fastest national security victory in modern American history, and it's not even close. The latest preliminary numbers released from the month of November show we have the most secure border in our nation's history. This is a remarkable achievement. November encounters came in even lower than the previous historic low in October, if you can believe it. There were only 30,367 total encounters nationwide. That's lower than the previous record set in October. And for the 7th consecutive month, U.S. Border Patrol released 0 illegal aliens into the United States. Let me repeat, 7 months of 0 illegal aliens being released into our country. This is a historic achievement, and it's one that every law-abiding American citizen should be grateful for. At this point, in 10 months under President Trump's unmatched leadership, We've seen less apprehensions
She's
overall
almost done.
than we saw in just 1 month under Joe Biden. Again, let me repeat, in 10 months under President Trump, we've seen less apprehensions at the southern border than we saw in 1 month under the previous president. Again, remarkable results. All in all, the economy is back on track and ready to boom over the next 3 years. Biden's inflation crisis is over. Prices are coming down. Wages are rising. The border is fully secure, and America's best days are to come. President Trump has kept his word and delivered for the American people over the past year, and he will not stop fighting, as you heard from him directly this week, until our country and every state in this country is better than ever before. So with that, I will take your questions today. I know there's a lot of news. We'll start with our new media seat. Mr. Bowling, it's great to see you here. He's of Real America's Voice. He's also the host of Edge, his interview and commentary podcast. Please, Eric, why don't you kick us off?
Caroline, thank you very much for this and inviting me to the new media seat. As you point out, affordability crisis, it strikes me energy prices have been coming down aggressively since President Trump's second term, approaching $55 a barrel for oil, gasoline, as you point out, under $3 a barrel nationally, first time in 5 years. By the way, that $55 barrel oil is about half of the peak under the last 4 years of the last administration, half the price. Wholesale prices come down, yet affordability crisis, a lot of the folks in this room, a lot of legacy media, some of the people in the front row, seem to want to call this an affordability crisis right now, forgetting the fact that over the last 4 years prior, we hit 9% inflation. Wages, as you point out, were stagnant at best. Sometimes
this guy obviously is a plant. You know what I mean? Like, what is he doing? He almost sounds like he's doing Caroline Levitt's job.
Dipped. That's a real affordability crisis there, but they weren't really calling it that then.
Exactly. Reporter from Sycophant News. It's like, come on, man. What is this?
You point out how President Trump is changing the affordability in America, but how will he ensure that the legacy media doesn't flip the script and change it so that they're using affordability as their word, their idea, versus what the American people who know much better?
Yeah, well, it's a great question, Eric, and it's a point of frustration for the president and for myself. I will say,
you know, they're actually sitting up here talking about how to flip the word, use a different word. They're talking about just, I mean, this is bullshit, because it makes no sense, because you already admitted that the Democrats are just going to, you know, do this over and over and over and over and over. So why worry about what the Democrats call it? Like, and then do you really think this is just going to disappear with the changing of a word? I mean, this is insulting. This is insulting. This is insulting. It's crazy. It's crazy. But this is what it's turned into. The White House press secretary, and, you know, these little bits that are supposed to be informative to the American people have just turned into kindergarten shit.
The reason I just kicked off this briefing today, setting the record straight with facts about the economic mess that the president inherited from his predecessor, Joe Biden. And he's focused on digging our country and our economy out of that hole every day. Things are getting better, and they will continue to. And President Trump understands better than any politician in this city the pain that the American consumer has been feeling for years now because of the last administration's policies. You heard him in the great Commonwealth of Pennsylvania this past week, campaigning and talking to these voters, saying, I was elected to fix this problem, and I am fixing it. Don't forget who created it, and that's the Democrats. And I think when you hear the president talk about affordability, he's saying the Democrats are the greatest con artists in history, because they are now trying to claim ownership of an issue that they created. And every data point and every economic metric does in fact show that the economy is improving. And so I do wish more people would report on those facts. I do wish that more people would remind the American public how we got here and why. It does not mean that the president is discarding.
I can't take much more of listening to exactly Fries, man. She's so annoying, man. She's so annoying. The American
people, he gets it better than anyone, which is why his entire administration has been focused on the issue of the economy and energy prices since day one.
If I may
sure.
follow up, it's reported that around 10,000.
Look, here he goes again, man. Nobody want to hear from his ass. I thought he was going to ask you. Anyway, screw this.
Truck drivers, particularly those.
They look, they're talking about like we don't know that, yeah, if you can get gas prices down, you know, if you live in a country where it's not pure capitalism all the goddamn time, you would think that the prices would be reflected in the goods that they're delivering, right? But that's not how it works in the United States of America. Listen, as long they haven't passed a law, and that's the problem right now. If you don't pass a law, no one knows what's going to happen the next day after she leaves this meeting. That's the fucking problem. So Trump did all these goddamn tariffs. You see what I mean? And, and did this flip-flopping up and down with the economy. No consumer and anyone else would trust tomorrow, and if you don't trust tomorrow, you're not going to just move. You're not going to just spend all your money. You know what I mean? And then on top of that, people don't have money to spend in the first place, and they're just, this is a sham. Everything she's saying is a sham. Everything she's saying is a sham. I'm sorry. Gas prices being lower, in terms of wholesale prices, that doesn't actually guarantee a goddamn thing. It doesn't. Not in the U.S. It doesn't, and it's because of this administration. If they went out there and passed some laws, in Congress and got the confidence back of the market and got the confidence back of the American people, I mean, well, how are you going to encourage people to spend money when they're expecting to spend already 2 and 3 times and 4 times more for their health care? What the hell? Like, she's pretending like that little problem doesn't exist while she's talking.
I think that's a
it's
very
crazy.
common sense policy to have. And we've unfortunately seen, and the Department of Transportation has uncovered and is actively working to fix these state-sponsored commercial trucking driver licenses, which were going to people who are not qualified to be driving these.
The big, beautiful bill that was passed, yeah, they did pass it. Everybody, hey. Now, guess what they passed? Your health insurance goes up 1, 2, and 3, and 4 times. And to people that have jobs, that have people to take care of, a child, a sister, a brother, a parent, that shit matters. You see what I mean? It's crazy, man. It's crazy.
On American roads, and they're endangering the lives of our fellow citizens. We've unfortunately seen many vehicle accidents across the country where people have lost their lives because of drivers that were just simply unqualified to be driving these trucks. So I know this is something DOT and Secretary Duffy take very seriously.
Okay, here, let's play a little game. And starting in January 1st, what's the healthcare provider you have? What state do you come from, and how much will you pay monthly?
Things stand right now is up.
Let me know that. Let me know what state you live in, and in January 1st, since everybody got a notice, let me know how much your healthcare is going up and what state you live in and who the provider is. Just curious about that.
Operation Southern Spear about drugs, or is it about oil?
What I will tell you, Peter, is that the Trump administration is focused on doing many things in the Western Hemisphere. The president has taken a new approach that has not been taken by any administration for quite some time to actually focus on what's going on in our own backyard. And there are 2 things that are very important to this administration. Number 1.
Yo, somebody said, tell us what you would do to fix this country instead of complaining. Oh, I could tell you what I would do. First of all, I would make sure more of the American taxpayers' money goes to something that directly impacts their actual lives or their communities. Right now, only at best 50% does. The other 50% doesn't even touch the average American. So it doesn't touch their life directly. It doesn't impact their communities directly. You see, so I would get it up to maybe 60% of the taxes they pay go to programs that directly impact their lives, since they are the taxpayer, since they're the breadwinner for the United States of America, since they pay for the government to exist, since the burden of everything else is on their shoulders alone only. The taxpayer of America, the United States, has to pay for the entire military budget. It has to pay for the entire functioning of the government. So what I would do is make sure that at least 60%, that's the first thing I would do. Make sure 60% of the taxes all Americans pay go directly back to impact their lives and their communities. And that could be reflected in a lot of different ways. That could be reflected in healthcare, right? that could be reflected in education, right? And more access to education, that could be, I mean, it could be reflected in a lot of things, but it will go up. And less of that 40%, it would go back to 40% would go to maybe 35% would go to things that don't directly impact their lives. That's what I would do. And then what I would do is I would have a discussion in Congress, and I would bring up the data from Europe, other functioning countries, other countries that function well, that have pretty good military capacity, good weapons making capacity, right? People within the same Western hemisphere, Western societies. I would look at what they're doing and have an open conversation with the American people about it. You see what I mean? School would not be a matter of how much money you make or how much money you have. I know that would be a nice thing. And also healthcare wouldn't be a matter of how much money you have. Yeah, that's what I would do. But I would first start off by, letting American citizens see the data so that they can see that really at best only 50% of the taxes they pay right now, even under Biden, that right now it's lower, go to impacting their lives directly. That's what I would do. And if you're against that, then complain. You can complain. What are you doing about it? Yeah, well, what are you doing? You coming here complaining now too, huh? Gotcha.
Stopping the flow of illegal drugs into the United States of America, which we know has killed
No, I wouldn't give it back to the people that don't pay taxes. What I just said something totally different. And you see how that works? You see how Scott came into the picture and just changed all of that? I guess he doesn't speak English. I don't know. Is English your first language, Scott? Maybe I should say it in a different way. Okay, because I know everybody doesn't speak English the same, right? So, again, right now, 50% of the taxes you pay, you, Scott, if you're an American citizen, if you live in the U.S., 50% of the taxes you pay at best go to directly impact your life at all or your community, period. At best, 50%. Your comment doesn't make any sense. Give it back to the people who don't pay taxes. No, what I said is that I would make sure 60% of the taxes you pay. Okay, again, taxes you pay. Okay, go back to positively affecting your life and your communities. That's different from what you said. That has a completely different meaning. And guess what? If you need help to qualify it, why don't you research what other Western countries do? And then you might have a good idea.
Hundreds of thousands of Americans. The president promised on the campaign trail that he would demolish the foreign terrorist organizations and drug cartels.
I didn't say raise taxes, RTK bot. Okay, I didn't say raise taxes. I said the amount that I said the percentage that goes back to you directly or in your communities I would raise. I didn't say I would make your taxes higher. That's a completely different concept. Okay, buddy? I believe you pay enough taxes. Okay, buddy? What I'm saying is that right now, at best, it's 50% of the taxes that you pay go to directly impact your life or your community. I'm saying the first thing I would do was change that to 60%. And yet you have a problem with that. I don't understand that one. You have to be stupid to have a problem with that. I've never met one person that had a problem with more of their tax dollars going back to them. I never heard of that one. Okay, buddy, you just give your money to other people. That's great.
Especially right here in our own hemisphere, and you have seen that he is delivering on that promise. With respect to the oil and what happened yesterday, the Department of Justice requested and was approved for a warrant to seize a vessel because it's a sanctioned shadow vessel known for carrying black market sanctioned oil to the IRGC.
Yo, look, RT doesn't like my idea. RT wants to say, no, how about we keep all of our money? Why don't you do that, RT? Why don't you keep all of your money then? I'm not saying you can't do that. Go and do it. Go keep all your money. But what I'm proposing is something different. But you go down the keep all your money route. Go for that one. How about that?
which you know is a sanctioned entity. So the president is committed to stopping the illegal flow of drugs into our country. He's also fully committed to effectuating this administration's sanction policy, and that's what you saw and the world saw take place yesterday.
And because you said the president is trying to do a lot of things at once.
Exactly, this sovereign citizen shit. It's like, how long are they going to keep on talking about that and shit and never do nothing about it? It's like, it's crazy.
He talks a lot about how he thinks the way to bring down prices for everything would be to bring down the cost of energy. Would he use this seized Venezuelan oil to try to help Americans with affordability here in the United States?
Well, what I can tell you right now, the vessel has been seized, as you know. And the Department of Justice did that in conjunction with the Coast Guard and the Department of.
Oh, they released his ass. Exactly, the guy they arrested that arrested for selling drugs. Exactly, they released him. They pardoned him. I mean, this is basically, I don't understand. Again, this is what I'm saying. Everybody that checks the facts knows that she lies after lie after lie openly, right? And the point is, what's behind her lie? Like, what makes her think, what makes her okay with the lies? You know what I mean? And I'm curious about that, you know, because I wouldn't feel good myself lying to fucking the American people. Like, I wouldn't feel good myself doing that, you know, not at all. And why? Because I know these are taxpayer dollars. Taxpayers pay her salary. And that would be unethical. That would be wrong. That would make you a terrible person. But in her eyes, it makes her a good person. In her eyes, she feels good about it. It's just a strange thing. It's not patriotic to lie to fellow citizens. So again, think about what I've been saying. You know, is that being a proud American to take a job where you get paid by the American taxpayer dollars? Americans go to work, some work 2, 3, 4 jobs to pay her salary. Is that American pride when you lie to the very people that pay you? Is that what patriotism is to her? To her, it is. To her, that's what it is to be an American patriot. Like, to her. And she's doing it, you know? And I just think that's really, really strange, because I've never met other patriots in other countries that actually feel patriotism is designed that way. You see what I mean? Like, but in the United States, it's very different. It's very different.
The vessel is currently undergoing a forfeiture process right now. The United States currently has a full investigative team on the ground on the vessel, and individuals on board the vessel are being interviewed, and any relevant evidence is being seized. With respect to the oil, that's a different issue. As you know, Peter, the vessel will go to a U.S. port, and the United States does intend to seize the oil. However, there is a legal process for the seizure of that oil, and that legal process will be followed.
And just my last one on this. If President Trump launches a bigger military campaign in the Caribbean, is he jeopardizing a possible Nobel Peace Prize?
Look, the president has proven over the past year that he is more than worthy of the Nobel Peace Prize. I think he's been nominated for it.
What kind of dumbass questions are these? What is this about? Like, who cares?
Nearly 100 times
and this is
year,
me.
Which is definitely.
I'm sorry, but I wanted to go here because now that we hear her, and we're gonna go to her brother's child's mom and hear how she talks about Caroline Leavitt. It's crazy.
Record. He's solved, I think, 9 conflicts around the world. We are up to now. He's actively working on the Russia-Ukraine war, which is the big one as we speak, and has been.
Yo, Trump is about to get into another war in Syria. That's the MAGA way. You know, the MAGA way is foreign wars, basically. You know, but the only thing is that when they were voting, they were blaming Biden for being in foreign wars. So.
Over the past year. With respect to any additional action in Venezuela, I'm definitely not going to get ahead of the president or the United States military. Mary.
It now seems all but certain that the Obamacare subsidies will expire at the end of the year. It means more than 20 million Americans are now bracing for their health care costs to soar. Is the president prepared to let this happen, or is he going to step in?
The president is prepared to take action on health care, and he wants Republicans on the Hill to do the same. As you have seen, Senate Republicans put forth their own legislation earlier this week. As for the subsidies that are set to expire, I would like to remind you and everybody at home why this is on the brink of happening. Democrats.
Okay, so, this is the thing. They know that they have to extend the subsidies. That's basically what it is. But instead of acknowledging that in the beginning, they chose to cut it anyway and have this conversation now. They literally chose to pass a bill that they knew no one would be able to afford, that millions of people would be kicked off of their health care, that millions of others would have their health care triple and quadruple. They knew that. And now they're sitting back making it sound like it's the Democrats that's not willing to, because obviously they will need Democrat votes, right? They will need Democrat votes, in either case, it's just crazy because they knew that they were cutting people's health care. And again, what made them think that is something the American people wanted them to do? Now, put a 1 in the chat if you wanted them to cut people's health care the way that they did. Put a 1 in the chat if you wanted that. If you wanted the big, beautiful bill to do that. Put a 2 in the chat if you didn't want it to that to happen. I mean, I didn't want that to happen. Maybe there's some people out there that wanted that to happen. If you wanted that to happen, put a 1 in the chat. I got questions for you. Everybody has questions for you.
Wrote Obamacare. They passed it without a single Republican vote, and then they ballooned it with these expensive COVID subsidies that completely distorted the health insurance market. And then they doubled down, extending those subsidies and setting their own expiration date right now in 2025, which the administration is obviously well aware of, and the president is working with his healthcare policy team here at the White House, as well as Republicans on Capitol Hill, to find a solution.
You said he's working to find a solution. He wants to see a solution to lower healthcare costs.
He does.
But these subsidies are expiring at the end of the year. So what is the plan, and what is he going to do to put this in place in the next 2-3 weeks?
You'll hear more from the president and from the White House on that very soon.
I mean, why cut it in the first place? See, this is the thing. Aren't you supposed, as the president, call on Congress to pass legislation, to vote on legislation? Isn't that what the president is supposed to do? But here he hasn't called on Congress to do a damn thing. So how's that going to happen? You see what I mean? It's like, is he writing the bill and he's just going to give it to Congress and then Congress is going to do something? I mean, it sounds like bullshit. But in any case, why would you do it this way when, if you want to overhaul the entire system, wouldn't you want to have first an excellent conversation in front of the American people through the House, through the Senate, have it televised, have everyone know all the facts? Isn't that what you would want to do if you want to overhaul a system? There's obviously got to be so many components to it, and so many aspects that need to be debated, and so many facts that need to be presented, by experts, but that's not what they're doing. I mean, it's just.
As for wanting a solution to lower healthcare costs, I'm glad you said it, because the president is doing just that. He has made unprecedented progress towards lowering healthcare costs in this country and drug prices. He's secured numerous most favored nation drug price deals, with many more to come. As you know, the One Big Beautiful Bill, the working family tax cut, significantly expanded access to health savings accounts.
I hear you. I'm tired of all the straight up line. Yeah, absolutely.
For
absolutely.
Those on Obamacare, again, a Democrat written program and approved program, which has led to higher healthcare costs in this country. So it goes back to the issue of affordability. Democrats are now pretending they want a solution to this issue, but they created the problem. The president,
when she says that Democrats, they created the problem. She acts like Democrats don't change. She's acting like people don't get new people don't get elected. She's literally acting like Jasmine Crockett got something to do with this. Jasmine Crockett wasn't even a congressional. You see what I'm saying? Like, they just keep saying it. Democrats, like that matters. That doesn't matter what party it is, really. Not unless there's some legislation that was groundbreaking that became like a pillar in the society, like Social Security. Then you would remember what party wrote it. You know what I mean? But healthcare, aren't you supposed to have healthcare? Aren't people supposed? Isn't that what government is for? To make sure the core element things are there for the people. Isn't that the point of government? Isn't it the point? You see what I mean? And here's the thing. You're talking about a government that wants it to be private. You know, Republicans want health care to be private. That in itself is a remarkable concept. Why would you want such a big industry that everyone in the society relies on, just like you rely on the military, right? Everybody pays taxes so that you can have a military. Your military wouldn't function good if it was privatized, obviously, right? Why education, if it's privatized, obviously that's the wrong way to go. That's the wrong way to go with education. You know, you can have some private schooling, but the meat and potatoes, the pillar part of education, should be there for everyone. It shouldn't be privatized, because obviously it will exclude a lot of people, because people won't be able to afford it. Duh. Then you'll have less educated people in your society, less engineers. You'll be importing people from Europe like they do every day. They imported people. Look at Elon Musk. They had to import his fucking ass. You see what I'm saying? Like, really, I'm being literal about this. They import people to do the real jobs that a fucking education is for. That's a lot of importing that the U.S. does, instead of just making sure that American kids get access to quality schooling consistently. You see what I mean? Making sure it's a right, not a privilege. You know, the same thing with healthcare. I mean, you know, but they want to make it privatized. They want to do something very, very different there. I'm not saying parts of it can't be managed privately, but the meat and the potatoes, since it's such a big job and since everyone needs it, I don't get why they're against using public dollars to organize healthcare. You know, I don't understand that.
Republicans are currently coming up with creative solutions and ideas to lower healthcare costs for the American people, and you'll continue to hear more from them on that.
Before these subsidies expire?
I just said you're going to continue to hear more from the president and Republicans on this issue, I'm sure. Sure, Bloomberg, go ahead.
Thanks, Caroline. The president said he was going to be holding a call with the leaders of Thailand and Cambodia. Have those calls taken place? Is there a readout you can share?
The president has not yet engaged in those.
Listen, I didn't see one person put a 1 in the chat. Who put a 1? You see this? You see this? Nobody put a 1. No, there's not 1 in the chat. That nobody said that they wanted the Republicans to do that. Not even the people in here that's been capping for Trump. Where'd they go? Where'd they go? That's really curious. You know? Okay, so they didn't want it then. Okay. Well, you better vote different next time. You know, start paying attention when you vote.
And when he does, I'm sure you'll hear from him directly, as you always do, after foreign leader calls.
Oh, here we go. Tahiki wants it. Okay, so where's your what state do you live in, and what's your healthcare provider? Tahik, what's your healthcare provider, and what state is that in?
Somebody here at the White House. I do know, with respect to the conflict in
that's just a qualifying question.
in the peace deal in Thailand and Cambodia, and some of the conflicts you've seen arise, reports of that in the
I guess Tahik don't have no healthcare provider.
press over the past couple of days. The
Robert, you got a healthcare provider, Robert? Who's your healthcare provider? What state do you live in?
president addressed it in Pennsylvania. The administration is obviously tracking this.
No, it's not called Medicare for All. It's only called Medicare for All in certain states. What state do you live in?
At the highest levels and is very much engaged. I spoke with Secretary Rubio about it.
Is it? I'm serious. You know, it's not called Medicaid. And what is it called in Michigan? What is it called in Michigan?
This morning.
Will senior U.S. official
Let me look that
meeting
shit up right now.
Saturday with European and Ukrainian officials to discuss the peace plan?
Look, the United States and the Trump administration continues to be very much engaged in trying to bring the Russia-Ukraine war to an end.
Okay, and how much is it going to be in January? Tar Heel, is it Tar Heel? Yeah, how much is it going to be? Your health insurance now? Yeah, let me know next month. I'm sure you got a notice, right? Or did you not get a notice?
And President had a call with Europeans yesterday. His special envoy.
Yeah, exactly. Obamacare. They got Obamacare. Blue.
Cuff and his team continue to talk with both sides.
I didn't want Obamacare.
Literally as we speak.
Oh, so you only paying $236 next year? You mean it's only going up to two? Is that true, y'all? Is that true? Is it only going up to 236? So what you pay right now if it's going up to 236? What did you pay this year a month?
If there is a real chance of signing a peace agreement, if we feel like those meetings are worthy of someone on the United States' time this weekend, then we will send a representative. It's still up in the air whether we believe real peace can be accomplished and we can truly move the ball forward. The president is extremely frustrated with both sides of this war, and he's sick of meetings just for the sake of meeting. He doesn't want any more talk. He wants action. He wants this war to come to an end. And the administration has spent more than 30 hours, just in the past couple of weeks, meeting with the Russians and the Ukrainians.
Anyway, okay, so look, this is what this is the bullshit she was out here talking about. I mean, same old stuff. I don't know. This is 2 days ago, right? 3 days ago. Has she done something since then? Has she talked about anything since then? I don't see it, but let's see here. Let's go back now. How did this come up? Oh, right, that was me. Okay, so now we got her. Now we got her, right? We got Caroline Levitt. Let me go back to this one. Stop this. Boom. We got Caroline Levitt to talk her smack. You know, her constant lies, which are hard to listen to because who likes to hear someone, you know, kind of sound? Caroline, she has this voice where she sounds like she's being polite, and then she has this angry voice, right? But like she's offended, you know, this "how could you do this to me" type of voice. But the problem with it, both of those, is that she's the one doing all the lying.
Two
like,
U.S. soldiers and a civilian intern.
People should be offended by her. You know what I'm saying? Like trying to just lie in your face like that. I mean, imagine if someone, wouldn't you be upset if someone just talked nicely to you but was just lying to you? No, well, you just have it wrong today. Or was like, why are you doing, you know, just talking like aggressively to you. Wouldn't you, while lying? I mean, she does those two things, and to me, it's like, it's pathetic. But in any case, this is what happened to her. This is the
Here's
news
an
for
Outfront
Caroline.
exclusive. The mother of White House Press Secretary Caroline Levitt's nephew and godson sitting down for her first television interview after being detained by ICE for nearly a full month. Bruna Caroline Ferreira was arrested.
Who does that? Who does that? Caroline Levitt does.
By ICE agents last month while driving to pick up her son from school. She shares custody of her child with Levitt's brother, Michael, whom she was engaged to until about a decade ago. Ferreira was shuttled to several detention centers around the country before ultimately being sent to Louisiana, more than 1,600 miles from where she lives, where she calls home in Massachusetts. Ferreira has been living in the United States since 1998.
Hey, Tar Heel asked me, I think you talking to me, what state do I live in and who's my insurance provider? Well, you know, I live in Denmark. I live in Copenhagen, my friend. And so here we have universal health care. So my taxes I pay, I think in D.C., I'm born and raised in Washington, D.C., so I moved overseas in my 30s. But in D.C., we pay about 30, you know, when you count up all of our tax, federal, state tax, and all of this other shit, you put it together. And what do they call it? Payroll taxes and stuff like that. Total, we pay in DC like 33% taxes, right? Where I live in Copenhagen, I pay 39% taxes. But that extra percentage that's on top of it, it pays for my health care. It pays for my children's, you know, my access and my children's access to education, higher learning, you know, university, tech school, these kind of things. It pays for my vacation. You know, every year I get 5 weeks vacation, right? It pays for also numerous other things, many other things. Like if I was to have a child, you know, everyone with a child gets a check every month. You see what I mean? If you have a child, so that little percentage difference gets you a lot, right? But again, I live in a country where 70 to 75% of the taxes that you pay directly go back to impact your life. Whereas though in the U.S., only 50% of the taxes you pay at best 50% go back to directly affect your life. And now Trump wants to cut that. He just took healthcare out of the equation. So it's less than 50% now. It's probably going to be more like, I don't know, 45% maybe at best. You see what I mean? And they're working on cutting out other things, so it could go down in terms of the percentage of the taxes you pay directly impacting your life. And in the country I live in the region of the world I live in, they call that freedom. You know, they believe that produces more freedom, right? In the U.S., they don't believe that produces more freedom. They believe your gun is what produces your freedom, you know? So you have gun rights. The guy who killed the guy who shot the National Guard members, who drove all the way across the country from Washington, he had gun rights. And he didn't even register that weapon, but he had the right to not register the weapon. It's legal to not register the weapon. And it's also legal to drive it all the way across the country in a car. He have a lot of rights. But the right he doesn't have is not really to universal health care or to universal education. He doesn't have that right. He doesn't have a right to a vacation every year. You know, I don't know. Would you trade in your gun right for the other rights? It's up to you. You decide what you want. You can vote on it. How about that? How about vote on it? How about talk about it? How about ask why legacy media doesn't do stories like that? How about create a conversation in your town, in your neighborhood, in your communities, and ask why? How about go to the local government and ask why? How about run for office, man? There's one guy in the United States right now, 14 years old, a young man. He's running for governor of his state. Do you know you could run for president? I mean, it doesn't, you know, there's no particular requirement other than you were born in the United States of America. You don't have to know shit. Same thing with everything else. You don't have to know shit to be a congressional member. You could come out of jail and run for office. You know what I'm saying? Like, you don't really, I mean, you can impact the society if you want to, but if you don't ever talk about the things that you could have and you don't believe you deserve better, then you won't do it. You'll say, nah, that ain't possible. I'll just stick with what I got. Yeah, that's also an option. A lot of people do that too. Everybody's not a mover and shaker.
That's when she came here from Brazil. She was a 6-year-old child. The Trump administration calls her a, quote, criminal illegal alien who overstayed a tourist visa. Her attorney maintains that Ferreira is in the process of getting a green card, which she had begun years ago, and that she is protected from deportation through an Obama-era immigration policy.
She loved me on payday. Where are you from? Where are you living at? What part of the world you live in? You said I get free healthcare and free university. Well, it's not free where I'm from. It comes out of your taxes, you know. But true, even if you're not working, you still get access to those things, and it's paid for by the people who pay taxes. Yeah, that's true.
And out front now for her first television interview, Bruna Caroline Ferreira, and she is joined by her attorney, Todd Pomerleau. And I really appreciate both of you being here. So, Bruna, I just want to start, you know, when this story first broke, I kind of had to look at it a couple of times to understand what actually had happened here, and then learning more and more about you and who you were. I understand on the day that this happened, you were running out of the house, shoelaces not even tied, to pick up your son from school.
Yes, ma'am.
So tell me what happened.
So I'm going to go.
Yo, exactly. RT may stand for Russian troll. You never know. You never know. Exactly. I mean, there's always trolls. There's always trolls, you know.
I was heading out to pick up Michael from school, and a vehicle drove towards me, so I decided to back up to get out of his way. An unmarked vehicle, may I add. And then I noticed in my rearview mirror there was another vehicle, and then it was just a swarm of people, and I was quickly rushed to the Revere Police Department for them to clarify my identity. They didn't know my name. They asked me my name, so I asked them, how could you possibly know who I am and where I live without you having some kind of a warrant? I wasn't presented with any of those documents. So I just started panicking, trying to see if I could get somebody, an emergency contact, anybody to answer me to pick up Michael from school, and just thought
Because at this point you were running with your shoelaces untied because you wanted to be first in line to school, right?
Yes, ma'am.
So then all of a sudden no one's going to pick your child up from school.
Correct.
So this is Caroline Levitt's brother's. This is Caroline Levitt's nephew's mom, who someone in the family basically snitched on her to ICE and got her detained and almost removed.
Okay,
She was detained for a month. And they've been lying about her. Listen, she's going to expose them all right here.
one thing you said there, though, so they're waiting. This vehicle, another vehicle comes up, this swarm of people as you describe it. And then you're saying, but they didn't know your name.
No warrant, no, yeah, they asked me, is your name Bruna? And I just asked, well, you know, how do you know who I am if you don't have any type of warrant? How do I know who you are?
So they knew you were Bruna, but they
Yes.
didn't have a warrant for your arrest.
So they wanted me to verify my identity with a driver's license. So I just asked, where do you have a warrant? So then they said, let's just rush her over to the Revere Police Department. And there they verified my identity and made a call. I made an emergency call for somebody to go pick up Michael. And after that, I was shuffled around all the entire country.
So I want to ask you about that. Todd, though, okay, what happened here then, do you think? They knew her name.
Correct.
But they didn't have any warrant, they didn't have any proof for it, but they knew her name.
Well, at first they played dumb and acted like it was a traffic stop, so they asked her for her license, but then somebody says, are you Bruna? Which causes her concern. Plus, traffic cops don't have masks over their faces. That's how immigration and customs enforcement, functions
These guys
days.
had masks.
Yeah, they cover their face, and that's what they did here. And again, they don't show her any warrant, and then apparently they manufactured a warrant when she was in Vermont several hours later, which is highly unusual. And then when you look at the video, TMZ leaked the video. I hadn't seen the video before.
No, listen, manufacturing a warrant is illegal. That's illegal. You can't just manufacture a warrant. You have to receive a warrant from a judge.
When I was on the show a few weeks ago,
Yeah.
and you see 5 cars just quickly swarm. It looks similar like an undercover drug buy, where they just go in right away and they know who they're getting. And what was strange about it is hardly any people knew where she lived. She was driving a vehicle not registered to her. It seemed like they knew exactly where she was going to be, which was customary. She regularly would pick her son up. She'd leave around the same time, multiple days a week. They knew exactly where she was going to be.
So it
at
sounds
that
like
moment
you're
in time.
saying you were targeted,
Premeditated,
premeditated.
very organized.
And because of who she is, because of the relationship to the press secretary.
It seems to be. And what's bizarre about her case anyway, she's been trying to get a green card literally since she was almost 6 years old. And she was in the process of doing that. And literally one day after she filed her most recent green card application, the Trump administration tried to accelerate her deportation case by starting it up again. She had a case that's been effectively shelved since the Obama administration, since Barack Hussein Obama put her in removal proceedings. And it was just basically paused so that she could try to get her green card. She had DACA over a course of years, and she was just merely waiting her turn. May 5th, she had her final hearing, but they accelerated the process the day after she filed her application.
So, Bruna, just to be clear, you came here when you were 6 years old.
Yes.
And so obviously you didn't come illegally, first of all.
No.
And
False.
you didn't have any choice in the matter, right? I mean, so then.
Very excited to come and meet my little sister, yes.
Right, okay, to meet your little sister for the first time. So essentially you've lived here your entire life, as far as you remember it.
Correct.
Okay, so when they say to you that you're a criminal illegal alien, which is what they're technically calling you specifically and explicitly, this administration, what do you...
If you're tired of failing prop firm challenges, or you just don't want the risk of blowing another one,
Let me see here. Somebody said, who is this? Silver Green. I've been all over the world and everywhere. Oh, really? Are you an American citizen? Are you an American citizen, Silver Girl? Yeah, she says that she's been all over the world, and extremely strict policies for citizens or anything regarding staying in place. You have to show who you are and why you are there. Yeah, I mean, I don't think it's I don't think I think the rules are basically bilateral rules. So so certain countries may have different rules for different countries. Like, for example, if you went to the UK, I don't know if you know this, but since you're an American citizen, all you need to go to London, all you need is a job. You don't need a permit. And same thing for people from London. This was before Trump. So you could I know plenty of people from London that live in the U.S., been living there for years. They didn't need a citizenship. They didn't need anything. That you get it automatically, and vice versa. I don't know if that law has changed in the last couple of years, maybe, but I definitely know a lot of people that. But while they had that for London, or for England, or for the UK, they didn't have that for all regions of the world, right? Some regions of the world had their own bilateral policies that parallel each other. Like, so with the U.S. and Denmark, they had the same rules, 3-month automatic visa. Did you know American citizens have 3-month automatic visa in a lot of places in pretty much every Western country? Again, don't know if that is now changed because of Trump, but that was typical just a couple of years ago, right? And for all other Western countries, they had 3-month visa. A visa you don't even have to, that means because you have a passport, anytime you go, that 3 months starts, right? But of course you can't have a job, right? That's a tourist visa. But if you have a job, there's a lot of people. I mean, I know this. The reason why I know this, I got to tell you, the reason why I know this is because my wife, she actually applied for a visa in the U.S. and she got a 10-year visa. You see what I'm saying? So, and that 10-year visa allowed her to do anything she wanted to do, even though she didn't really use it, but it was easier to get that so she could travel back and forth whenever she wanted without any questions. You see? So don't buy this thing about every place. Don't do that. Go in, find out exactly how it works. Each place yourself. Don't let anybody tell you what it is, because you will find that there's differences. You see what I mean? And those differences will have you out there. If you're not aware of these differences, they will have you out there looking like you're a fucking Nazi, like being like, it's hard everywhere. And I don't know why it's so easy in our country. No, that's not what's going on. There's a lot of different bilateral agreements going on, and you need to make yourself aware of them. And when you have strict policies like this, legacy media and others need to discuss these things clearly so that you don't get the wrong ideas. You can't be hostile towards every single thing you do. You can't take a hostile approach. Otherwise, you will have a fucked up economy like what Trump delivered. The dollar is down now. It's because of the approach, not necessarily the goals, but how you went about it. You see what I mean? So, look, how you go about it. So I don't know what Trump's goal was with the tariffs, to be honest, but it was very hostile. You see what I mean? And also this approach with immigration, like grabbing people off of the street and just throwing them in a wagon, and lying to them. I mean, why are you lying to people? Why are you manufacturing warrants? Why are you committing crimes just to deport people that you claim are illegal? You see what I mean? That's illegal, And I just think nothing is being solved here. There's no law being passed. There's no real law. I mean, the big, beautiful bill doesn't have really comprehensive immigration reform in it. I hope you know that. For Trump supporters, I hope you know that. So as soon as Trump is gone, all this ICE behavior is gone. There still won't be comprehensive immigration reform because Trump didn't want Congress to create any. So that's not a good situation to be in. That's not helpful, I would think. Every other country does have comprehensive immigration reform. The United States does not, sadly. But in any case, let's go on. Let's get back to the story here.
Say to that. Okay, to meet your little sister for the first time. So essentially, you've lived here your entire life, as far as you remember it.
Correct.
Okay. So when they say to you that you're a criminal illegal alien, which is what they're technically calling you specifically and explicitly, this administration, what do you say to that?
I'm heartbroken. I'm heartbroken for my son, you know. I'm heartbroken for my mother, who has worked for a quarter of a century cleaning houses, earned an honest living, has paid her taxes. I've been a law-abiding citizen. I don't even have a parking ticket, and I'm so proud of it. I'm proud of my name, and I carry it like a badge of honor, you know, like being on an honor roll. And now my child is sitting somewhere watching them broadcast this 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. As a child, he must be terrified. Is it true? Did my mom do something? Do I not know about it? Gossip in school? I don't know what's going on in his little mind, and I just want him to know that none of those things are true, honey, and we're going to square this all away.
So that when you go in that day and you make that emergency call, then you lose your phone, right? You don't
Correct.
have a phone.
Yeah.
Okay. For 26 days?
26 days.
26 days, no phone.
Yeah.
So they detained her for 26 days, no phone calls.
Okay.
And
I can't even imagine what it's like to not be able to.
So she couldn't talk to her son. So when they make an error, it doesn't matter. They're just cutting you off from everyone in your life, your family, and there's no recourse for, oops, sorry, did we do that to you? Oops, sorry, we get paid to harm you and hurt you and terrify you.
Talk to your child for 26 days.
And her phone somehow got broken during the arrest too, which is on TMZ. It's not a violent arrest, but her phone managed to get broken.
Your phone got broken.
Correct.
Yep.
What was that even like, to not be able to know what happened to your child or even who picked him up from school or anything for 26 days, Bruna?
You have a lot of time to think in there, you know, and you really think the worst. You think the worst, but the luck that I had is that I was surrounded by so many women that had 4 children, you know, one was pregnant, you know, and I can't imagine. I just tried to put myself in their shoes. I was in such a horrible situation, but they were praying for me and I was praying for them, and being able to contact an attorney that could expedite my process. Because
Thomas Foster, what state do you live in and what is your health care provider?
some people are in there for a year and a half. I can't fathom a mother not knowing where her son is for a year and a half and who's with him, what he's eating, if he's going to bed on time, if he's sick. I can't imagine.
That's unbearable. I mean, it's the cruelty of it.
It's cruel.
So you are, okay, so but in this time then, how many places do you go? You're taken from place to place, right? How are you, and can you just talk about what it was like inside, who was there? I mean, were you treated well? I mean, tell us.
It's mind-boggling to know that they know where you're going, but they won't tell you. So I was shuffled from Massachusetts quickly to New Hampshire, from New Hampshire to Vermont, Vermont to Philadelphia, Philadelphia to Texas. When I got to Texas, I asked the ICE agent, because it said Mexico, and I said, can you please, please, please have a little bit of empathy for me and tell me if you're taking me across the border? And he said, no, we're taking you to the final destination, your final stop before your deportation, which is South Louisiana. Hardly anyone ever gets out of there. So I just mustered up the courage to cry and sleep throughout that final voyage. And when I got to South Louisiana, I was finally able to, by the grace of God, some girl let me use her minutes to make a phone call and then to tell my family where I was and the attorneys.
And so that's, Todd, when you are able to.
Yeah, they're just being inhumane as possible. And Thomas, he didn't answer my question. Somebody named Thomas wrote this really cruel and mean message, in the chat, but he got blocked. Nobody saw it, but his username is Thomas Foster 0327. If anybody want to see if that's a bot, but in any case, I was asking Thomas, does he have a state that he lives in and an insurance provider, and he hasn't answered yet. So he's likely just a bot. We'll see.
To help to get her out.
Yeah, I mean,
for now.
We got the case the Saturday before Thanksgiving, and
hit the like button for me, y'all. Appreciate it.
When she was taken to Vermont, she said that one of the ICE officers didn't think she spoke English, and said, "Oh, we got more business coming in." And then she winds up in Louisiana in another for-profit hellhole prison paid for by taxpayers. She has 2 businesses. This is a
for-profit hellhole prison paid for by taxpayers, and so this is the thing, your tax dollars. This is you can't, no one's ever suggested that, your health care be covered like that. Nobody ever suggested it, but ICE, look, they turned into the biggest, they're a serious force. I mean, their budget is huge. It's interesting because comprehensive immigration reform would do that job better, right? And more efficiently, right? But they didn't want that. They just want people running around on the street, which costs money. Just running around on the street looking costs a lot of money. You're burning a whole lot of gas. I'm sure the gas companies are loving it, actually.
A woman who has 2 businesses, is a single mother, paying her taxes, and winds up in a for-profit prison in Louisiana.
It's a for-profit. That means it's privatized. That means some businessman is getting you to subsidize his business, and you couldn't even get a check from him. I mean, you can't even. I mean, this is crazy. It's all under the table. It's all under the table. Who owns the prison? Did Congress vote on that? Anything going? No. But somehow the tax dollars are going to it. I mean, I think it's horrible.
It's just unconscionable what they're doing on a daily basis. And then beyond that, this false character assassination, keep labeling her a criminal illegal alien. Their own lawyer on Monday, when we had a bond hearing, said, I stipulate, after we argued that she was not a criminal illegal alien, that was patently false, factually, legally, and then they're still doubling down, claiming she was arrested for a crime. The only arrest in her life was this unconstitutional bag job on November the 12th.
We're not.
Yeah, the trolls are good for the algorithm too.
I want to understand this, and I think, on some level, I don't want to make it about Caroline Leavitt, but that is why your story has, of course, risen to, you have become, whether you like it or not, right, a face of this for so many people. I know you chose her to be your son's godmother, right? I mean, there's a relationship there. You're not married to your son's father, but you say, you function, you co-parent together, you share custody. The Washington Post says that the White House said you never lived with your son. They were clearly
now listen to this. They've been lying about her. This is crazy.
Portraying you as an absentee parent.
Why? I just want to. Why lie?
Why do you think that is?
Why lie? Because I have so many friends and family that have called me and said, why would anyone lie about this when it's 2025? We have a digital footprint of everything. Every Wednesday, typically my son and I go to Dave & Buster's because it's half off. We're extreme couponers at our home. Yeah. And I can't wrap my mind around it, but it doesn't make any sense. I'm just as lost as you are, and I'm hoping that this interview gets me some answers.
Have you had a chance to talk to Caroline Leavitt?
No.
I mean, what would you say to her? I guess I'm still stunned by the fact that you chose her to be your son's godmother, right?
Over
my
sister.
You had it over your own sister.
Over my sister.
And now all of this is happening. I mean, what do you have to say to her?
Hold on.
No.
I mean, what would you say to her? I guess I'm still stunned by the fact that you chose her to be your son's godmother, right?
Over
my
sister.
You had it over your own sister.
Over my sister.
And now all of this is happening. I mean, what do you have to say to her?
Yeah, that's crazy, going out there, reciting lies like that. That's so crazy. And Caroline Leavitt, again, like I said, she's wearing a cross a lot of the times. She's getting paid by taxpayer dollars. She's not paid to lie, and this is like someone so close to her. Like, it only makes you wonder, like, it makes me believe that, like, this lady is every bit of cruel as she sounds. I used to think that was like a game, like she just was saying that because this is what Trump demanded of her. But now I can see, like, no, man, she's actually this cruel. This is crazy. And again, it's based on what is it really based on? Caroline Leavitt, like, she's treating a fellow American. We're talking about other people from America. Other people from America. Other people from America. South America, they're still Americans. North America, Canada, they're still, it's not like they're strangers. Brazilians aren't strangers to American citizens in the U.S. These aren't strangers. you know, and the mere fact that this is an issue, she has a child with a citizen and has lived in the country this long with her mother. I'm sorry, that you can't do better than that. You don't know how to look at her and say, yeah, guess what? She's been here all this time. No crime. I mean, I don't know what the issue is about her not having her residence, but if she's committed no crime and she has a child, clearly that's not abnormal at all. Isn't that? I mean, that's not abnormal. That's norm. There's plenty of countries that in the West that have people living there based on, it's called family reunification and child rights, you know, and this is a complete abdication of child rights. I mean, really, did you know children actually have rights, human rights, and they're supposed to have civil rights too, the right to their parent, to have access to their parent. The Trump administration literally has stripped away a child's right to have access to his mother. And she has not one crime. She's been living in the U.S. since she was 6 years old. She had a son of another a child with an American citizen. There's no criminal record. Her mother lives in the United States of America. You just split up a family. Like, for what? And then lied about it. They literally are lying about the lady. And guess where she is right now? Guess where she is? They detained her. Think about it. They detained her for a month only to find out that, oops, damn, we're in trouble because everybody knows what we did now. What do? We just release her back on the street. I mean, this is some crazy shit. This is crazy. Like, if you knew this was the child's mother and you knew that she's been living in the country since she's 6 and you could verify that through the father, through the mother, then why would you dare detain her in the first place and take her from her residence? That makes 0 sense. That means you can't verify nothing about anybody in your country, including American citizens. Look, they took this guy. They took a dude, a guy who's an American citizen, and detained him, and he had his information on him. You know, he had his passport in his phone, a digital passport, which is legal, by the way. I don't know how many of you know that, but it's legal. And hold on, let me get this. Yeah, it's legal. And they were like, no, we don't want to see that one. And they detained the dude. Look, when someone pulls out a legal identification, you are supposed to stop and acknowledge it. You're supposed to stop and that's what it is for. You see what I mean? And yeah, they detained his ass too. And then in the way that they detained him, before they asked him anything, they just ran. A person came out of nowhere and tackled him, and then was like, "Where's your ID? Where's your ID?" Like, I don't know, but it doesn't sound to me like this is pro-American. To me, this sounds like this is very, very anti-American citizen, like straight up anti-American and also anti-American citizen. Like they're running a test on how much abuse are you willing to take and not do anything about it. Like, you know, and it ain't going to work with a whole lot of people because, like I said this a million times, I'm not going to be manhandled, treated poorly by any fucking body, you know? And why can I say that? Because I'm an American citizen. That's why. What the fuck? You see what I mean? We do actually have rights, and you're not allowed to violate my rights. You see what I mean? So, and it could work out two ways. Like, what they do is they break the law and then say, oh, well, we'll take us to court and we'll see how that goes. Right. So they know that they're breaking the law. Then they take time. But I will use the same approach. I mean, what's the difference? If you can break the law, why can't I break the law? You see what I'm saying? I'm still an American citizen. What you going to do if I break the law? What you going to do about it? You came and you broke the law, and then I broke the law back. What the you know what I'm saying? Like, yeah. Like, seriously. I can't wait till people stop. I mean, at this point, I don't think people should tolerate it anymore. I don't think these people, the mask thing, nope. No way. That's not a violation of your rights. And you shouldn't have to go to the Supreme Court to be the first one to litigate it. It's like, no, it's just plain and simple. It's a violation of the rights. You know what I mean? It may not be a precedent court cases that have been established in the court yet, but you can't hide your motherfucking self. You know what I mean? You can't do that. You have to identify yourself. And there's no way in hell that you could claim to be identifying yourself if the person doesn't have the right to see who is detaining them. To see, not just get a number. My number is 123. No. I want to see something else to qualify that. Your face. I want to be able to point you out in a fucking lineup. And if you're not given the right to be able to point someone out in a lineup, I say don't listen to them. That's what I say.
I think what I would have to say to Caroline is just because you went to a Catholic school doesn't make you a good Catholic. You're a mother. You are a mother now, and you should know. How would you feel if you were in my shoes? How would you feel if somebody did this to you?
Yeah. How would you feel? That's what I say. I mean, treat people how you want to be treated. And again, don't worry about the trolls, y'all. It's always going to be some trolls in there. They also help the algorithm a little bit too. Click the like button though. Now you heard that what she described, like she said they lied about her. It's Caroline Levitt's brother's it's Caroline Levitt's nephew's mom, and it also goes to show you that Caroline Levitt is fake as fuck. She's fake because they talked all this shit about, these communities, like, where they're going to send ICE to. There's all these illegals. And she knew the whole time that there was somebody in proximity to her own family. And she didn't mention it on day one. I mean, I'm not saying that the lady should have a problem at all. Anyway, I don't believe she should have a problem. I don't get it. To me, it's like it's a violation of the children's rights. It's a human right law that the U.S. signed up to. You see what I mean? You can't just break the treaties that you sign up to. You see what I mean? But the child, I don't know how many people know this, but it's not only the parents that have fucking rights. The child has a right. And one of the right the child has is the right to their parent. So if the child says, yeah, this is my parent and I want them in my life, you're supposed to respect that, period. You see what I mean? And I'm pretty sure that they violated the rights too, because when they find out that they asked the kid about the mom, and if they find out the kid was lied to, or that the kid requested the mother and they refused to make the mother available to that child, yo, man, you violated the child's human rights. And even though that child is born in the United States of America, the United States still signed that treaty. You see what I mean? So, again, like, why are you violating children's human rights? Why are you violating the mother's human rights? I mean, well, I don't understand why if she's in the child's life and has maintained that, then that's also another violation. Yeah, that's also another. They're splitting up families. You're not supposed to do that either. And these are the same laws that people upheld for Americans too, all over the world. And these are laws that people are still upholding with Americans all over the world. While America, the United States of America, reneges on that. Everybody else is still holding it up. Everyone else is honoring the charters, the treaties that they signed, the agreements. The only country right now is really the U.S. in the West that's not honoring the agreements. You know, it's sad. It's sad. It's sad. Yeah, it's really sad. But in any case, did y'all hear about this shooting that went on the other night? This was just in the last 24 hours. This one, let's see here. Apparently, there was a gunman who went into a university and shot up a load of people. You know, 2 of them may be dead now. But in any case, Trump had to open his mouth, and apparently he said some stupid shit about it. So here we go. He can barely walk. You see this? He can barely walk. Let me make this a little bigger. This guy can't walk. He can't walk straight. He has lumpy legs or something. I mean, look at this. Let's go back. You see that? You see that? He's wandering, man. He looks like he's just wandering through the bushes and shit. Like, what the? Let me bring this back a little bit. I can't miss that. He's going to say something to the audience, to the crowd, but hold on. Let's see here. Let's do this one more time. Here we go. Yeah, he's holding onto the banister with 2 hands. You know, with 2 hands. He's all right. You see that? You see that? Maybe he's drunk.
I've been fully briefed on the Brown University situation, what a terrible thing it is. And all we can do right now is pray for the victims and for those that were very badly hurt, it looks like. And we'll inform you later as to what's happening, but it's a shame. It's a shame. Just pray. Thank you very much.
I mean, listen, what else is he going to say? What else is he going to say? What can he say? What's been different about this speech and any other, shooting, really? That happens by a quote unquote American citizen. They're all just a shame. It's just a shame. Just a shame. Nobody's talking about any gun legislation. Like I said, I mean, if you're so anti-immigrant, then why do you allow immigrants to have fucking guns? What's up with that? I don't get that. It's the same thing with I'm not saying, that immigrants flat out shouldn't be able to have because the immigrant is such a broad term, but this is the case. The case is that this man was not only allowed to have a gun, but he was allowed to have an unregistered weapon. That was legal. That's why you haven't heard the FBI or the DOJ say that his weapon was illegal, because it wasn't, sadly enough. In the state that he comes from, he can possess the weapon without registering. It doesn't have to be registered. And then legally, he can drive that same weapon without violating any law all the way across the United States of America legally. Why? 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 Nobody knew he had the gun, and it's not illegal. There's no trace because it's not against the law for some strange reason. For some strange reason. Yeah, somebody said an armed society is a polite society. Yeah, that's why he went downtown and shot those two National Guardsmen, because an armed society is a polite one. Maybe he said, "Excuse me, sir," before he shot one of them. "Excuse me, madam." Pow. Yeah, that was polite, just like Caroline Levitt is polite, But this is crazy, though. I'm just saying, I don't know what law they're supposed to do. I mean, there's obviously a lot that has to be looked into, but just the fact, that should tell you something like, what are you really going to do about any shootings in the United States of America when you don't have any restrictions, really? Like, again, you have the right to a gun. You don't have the right to an education. You don't have that right. You have a right to a gun. You don't actually have a right to health care. That's not you don't have a unilateral right to that. Same thing. You don't have a unilateral right to an education, but you have a unilateral right to a gun. Like, I just found, and listen, I just got to say it. I don't have a unilateral right to a gun in Denmark. It's limited. Could I get one? I think I probably can. Maybe I can. I'm not sure. I'm not a citizen of Denmark. Maybe there's a restriction there, right? But definitely not the type of weapons that are just illegal around the U.S. I think I could have a rifle, maybe at best, right? But I do have a right to an education. Anytime I want to go back to school, if I want to, even though I'm 55, I can still go back today, take any class I want to take. As long as I pass the little entry exam, which is probably like an hour. I might cover a few fields, math, science, things like that. But healthcare, yeah, I have the unilateral right to healthcare. Not to have a gun. United States of America, you have a unilateral right to have a gun. Not to education, not to healthcare. That's so sad. And, it's just, what else is he going to say? Like, oh, well. That's just how it is. That's how the cookie crumbles. And that is how they're saying it. I mean, that's what Congress is saying. Congress is saying, give me your money. Please give me your money through your taxes. I need some more of that money, honey. Thank you for paying me my job money. If I didn't have you paying my bills, I wouldn't have a job. That's what congressional members say, senators say, right? Caroline Levitt also, that's what she says. Thank you for giving me a job. I get paid by your tax dollars. It's just crazy. They don't seem to be doing a lot of governing. There's still no comprehensive immigration reform in the U.S. and they're acting like they doing something other than scaring the fuck out of people. I mean,
we are covering a deadly shooting out of Brown University in Rhode Island. The shooter in that case still at large. Police do not know who it is. All they know is that it is a male who was dressed in all black and that those shots began, or they got the first call around 4:05 Eastern time, about 3.5 hours ago. I want to go to Katie's son, Brown University student.
So does anybody know why the person got shot? Who the person was? I think the last I heard, they're still looking for the person who did this. It was a person dressed in all black. Do they know what the motive was? Let me see.
Student Katie is still on lockdown in her dorm room. Katie, are you with us?
Yes, hello, hi.
Hi. Are you okay? We're so sorry you're going through this.
Well, thank you. I'm okay. I'm doing all right. Thank you so much.
Okay.
It's just a tough time.
What is this dude saying? What the F? Talk about why the Second Amendment exists. Talk about why it's not unilateral, not even fucking close. Okay, so let me ask you a question since you want to curse, motherfucker. Okay, bitch. Okay, listen to this question. The question for you is this: was it legal for the immigrant who shot the 2 National Guards people? Was it legal for him to possess that weapon, have it in Washington State, and drive it all the way across the country? Was that legal or was that illegal? And I'm talking to what the F, you bitch. Answer my question. He's not going to answer that question, right? You know? So when I say unilateral, that's what I'm talking about. To me, that seems close enough to unilateral within reason. I mean, I don't know why that exists. I'm not sure. I mean, I'm pretty much in favor of only citizens. If you're going to have, first of all, I mean, is it, who knows if I would be only citizens? But let's think about this. Why not discuss it that way since we're against immigrants? Why not discuss it that way? Why not just limit legal gun possession to citizens, since all immigrants are criminals anyway, right? Why not just do that? Why don't the MAGA people do that? I mean, that's what I don't understand. They literally gave the man had the right to possess, because of the gun laws, to possess this weapon. It didn't have to be registered. That was legal. To not register it in that state was legal. Then he had the legal right to drive it across the country. Why? It's the gun laws. It's the gun laws. This is why the DOJ and Kash Patel haven't told you that he's being charged with that, because it's not. They can't even determine if it's illegal. And I bet you he went and studied the damn law.
I know. It's really, really a scary and traumatic thing to have to be on.
No, it's not in the Second Amendment. The Second Amendment is very vague. You know what I mean? But this is something else. This is about the difference, state laws and federal laws. Somehow the guy got a loophole. He in Washington State. I mean, we did do some research here. In Washington State, it wasn't illegal for him to have that weapon, even though it was not registered, and even though he didn't buy it from a shop that gives you a registration. He didn't. He got it from another person, which is legal to do, and it doesn't have to be registered in Washington State. Then the second part of that, right, which is legal, is they're trying to determine, did he have the right to transport the weapon? And according to the laws, it was legal. Like, literally, we looked it up. It's legal. There's no federal law that stops you from transporting that type of weapon. That's the problem. There was nothing there at all. Not in the federal law, not in the state law. The man legally possessed. The only time when it became illegal was when he took it out in D.C., when he took it out of whatever box he had it in and shot those police. That's the only moment it became illegal. Had he not taken out of his little case and just kept driving through DC, it would have still been legal even in DC, as long as it's in that compartment, right? And that's crazy. That is crazy. And my question is, why should every American have that right? So how are you going to stop somebody from driving all the way across the country, you could drive 3 times around the ring of the whole country and then stop in DC and shoot a police officer? Nothing illegal until you decide to shoot him. Is that deterrence? Does the gun law deter anyone from killing anybody in the U.S.? Or does it just come later and prosecute you after you fucking killed somebody? I think that's what it does. It doesn't deter. It just comes later after your family member is dead and said, boo-hoo, you shouldn't have done that. Now we're going to put you in jail. But what about when you lost your family member's life? Does that count? Nope. Don't mean shit in the U.S. Doesn't count at all. You can have the right to die and be shot by anybody, even a person that didn't even register their weapon. That's fucking legal. I mean, it's crazy. It's just crazy.
On lockdown at your school.
You could try to explain it however you want to explain it. But the only reason why that happens is because Congress and the Senate and the president say it's okay. And the Supreme Court. That's the only reason.
School
Now you got another person shot, and you're gonna go hear a lot of these stories and things and go through the same motions over again, the same motions. First of all, they need to go find out. This is what they're doing off the top. They're trying to figure out if it's a person that was a transsexual that did it. That's what they're going to do, because they need this type of talk. You know what I'm saying? They need someone to blame it on, right? It has to become political, right? It has to become political. It's either it's either a anti-fascist, it's an Antifa person, or it's a transsexual, or it's a person that's both, right? That's what the right wing is going to say. And although they don't know who the person is yet so far, I don't think they know yet, right? But then they're going to do everything else to try to stop you from looking into the gun laws. Everything else, nothing to do with any gun law at all. And likely you're going to, I don't know, but in the case of the Charlie Kirk shooting, the guy was practicing on assault weapons when he was a child, many years before he became an adult, when he was a little boy, basically.
Violence like this around you. I've been told you heard the gunshots.
Yes, I was studying in Barrison Hawley, which is the engineering building where I think the shooting happened. So
Yes.
I was in the front area, and I heard like multiple gunshots, like bangs, coming from the back where the classrooms are, and I basically fled immediately, me and the other people that were studying there.
That is so scary. Okay, so take us in again for just people that are at home who may be tuning in, what she's talking.
I'm not sure. I think there's some problems here. I'm also for gun rights myself. And I'm for gun rights, the type of gun rights myself. Like, I wouldn't have a problem in the United States taking an unregistered weapon and using it myself, especially if it's to defend myself, defend my family, anything, period. Right. But, but the thing is, because there's even laws that allow you to do that. Listen, it's a misdemeanor to have an unregistered handgun, essentially, in most of the country. Right. So, that's not really a big deal. You see what I mean? A misdemeanor doesn't do much. You see what I'm saying? So possessing a gun that's unregistered is not really a big deal. You see what I'm saying? But when you use it, the fact that I think for me, where the danger is that there's so many proliferated, and it's been clear that how, the fact that it's a business to sell weapons, it gives the incentive, that's the person that's selling it, the incentive to want to get the person the gun, and so maybe the checks and the balances, the checks that go into play are not strict enough, because for example, let's say the person has mental issues. Let's say the person, one thing that you can never know is if a person's having a bad day, but I don't know. I think it's wrong to see these guns be used over and over and over and still come to the same conclusion. I think there's something not right about that. So, that's basically what I could say,
About is the Barrison Hawley building there on Brown, which is where this shooting did happen. 2 people killed.
Yeah, this happened on Brown University campus. Damn.
8 people in critical but stable condition. And so, Katie, you're saying you were studying there. There were exams going on at that time, right?
Yeah. So the way the building is, it's a pretty big building. There's a front area called the ERC that has like a cafe during the week, and there are some tables. And then further back into the building, there are classrooms, and I think that's where the exams were. So I was in the front area of the building. So I didn't see anything, but I heard the gunshots. Yeah.
And so when you heard them, you said they sounded kind of like pops?
Pops, bangs. At first, I've never experienced anything like this, so I didn't really know what to make of it, but there were so many in sequential, and it bangs or pops.
Yeah.
And yeah, at first, like me and the other people that were there, we kind of froze, and then someone was like, "We have to go," and then everyone just sprinted out. I left all my stuff there. It's probably still there.
No, that makes sense. And so obviously in a moment like that, you're just processing. It's probably hard. But if you were to guess how many shots you heard, do you have any idea?
Make it a habit.
All right. They say, let me see something. They say that, let's see, as the latest reports, the shooter at Brown University has not been captured and remains at large. Authorities initially and erroneously reported someone might be in custody, but that was later corrected. Police say no suspect is in custody, and the search and the manhunt continues. Okay. Here's the current situation based on multiple news updates. Multiple sources confirm that the shooting occurred at Brown University, Providence, Rhode Island, leaving at least 2 people dead and several others injured. Police described the suspect as a male dressed in dark clothing and said he fled the scene on foot. Officials have not arrested anyone connected to the shooting, and the suspect is still being sought in an active manhunt. Law enforcement has released video footage of a person they believe is the suspect. Okay. But his identity and whereabouts remain unknown. Okay, let me see. Fine. Yeah, I want to see. Did they say anything about what the perpetrator looks like? Let me just pull that up. Okay, here's the footage. So let me pull that up for y'all real quick, yo. Let's see here. Boop, 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 boom. Thanks for the question. I don't know who asked me that question, but I saw somebody asking a question in the chat, so I just decided, you know what? Let me double check and see if there's been any updates. Let's see here. Okay. Oh, right. I can go like this. Boom. Save. Okay. Alrighty. So let's see here. See if I can find it real quick. It should come up in 2 seconds. It's really sad. I hate to see this, but I got to tell you, like, I have to tell you this. I grew up in Washington, D.C., and I'm 55 years old. And so I grew up, I was a teenager in the 80s and 90s. I was born in 1970. So in 85, I was 15 years old. You see what I mean? In 90, I was how old? You see what I mean? And I was 20. You see what I'm saying? 95, I was 25. You see what I mean? And for a decade, DC was had a lot of issues with gun violence. You know what I mean? And the generation that I grew up in, I had to grow up in a situation that was like guns were readily available. And also, they say something like 80% of the black men in my town, have a high risk of being involved in being a victim of a violent crime, like straight up. I forget what the percentage was. Maybe it's not 80%, but it was pretty high. No, 80% between the ages of 16 and 21. So I grew up, basically, always expecting a gun to be pulled out. You see what I mean? Like, I grew up like that, always expecting a gun to be pulled out at any time. You see what I mean? Like, so, when you grow up in that kind of environment, it's not, I know this for a fact because I live outside of the country, and I live in a country where guns are not proliferated like that. I have to tell my American, the American citizens, because I'm an American citizen, I got to tell you what my experience has been. And my experience has been moving outside of the U.S. I enjoy walking down the street, not thinking about any type of gun or violence occurring to me. I enjoy not watching my back, looking over my shoulder. I enjoy that. I got used to it in the U.S. Growing up in the U.S., I got used to it, but I also got used to the idea that I've been in situations where I've been jumped. I think I'm talking about by large groups of people. Being jumped is nothing. Where I'm from, being jumped. You see what I mean? And not running, you just gotta know that, hey, this is how it's going to be. Or running and escaping, you know, because some people can have bats and things like that. But also, you know, knowing that also having a weapon might save your ass, you know, might change the odds. You see what I mean? And but I have to say, I'm so glad I don't have to do that anymore. I don't have to think about those things. To me, I think it's a waste of a lot of important energy to have to use so much time on that shit. That's all I'm saying. To have to use all that time on it, I think it's fucked up. And I think Americans waste a lot of time with this kind of shit right here. Like, this sucks up your energy in ways you can't describe your psychic energy. You know, it's like, yeah. But
Authorities in
case,
Providence, Rhode Island, released what they said is video of the suspect responsible for a mass shooting at Brown University. The video shows a person dressed in black walking away along a pavement on Hope Street.
He doesn't have that elephant pimp strut, that's for sure. That's the first thing I noticed, how he's walking, his body language when he walks. I mean, what does that look like?
The person's face is not visible. Providence Deputy Police Chief Timothy O'Hara said the suspect had not been identified. More than 400 law enforcement personnel were deployed as police sought the suspect.
Yeah, Fryer said he lived in D.C. Also, Rafiq. Yeah, okay. Yeah. I grew up in Northeast on 15th and C, Northeast, and I grew up in between that part of town and Anacostia.
2 people were killed and 8 were critically wounded at a shooting on December 13th at Brown University, the prestigious Ivy League school in Rhode Island. U.S. President Donald Trump said he was briefed on the situation, calling it terrible, as he returned to the White House from the Army-Navy football match.
All right, but I want to go back.
If you're a producer who hates AI, this plugin...
Sorry, I want to go back and see the footage that they have. Let me see. Let me just go back to this one real quick. Yeah, I'll see this. What do you get from this? From how he's walking? Somebody said, "Oh, where people aren't allowed to carry guns." DC, when I grew up, you were allowed to have a shotgun in your home. You know, anybody could have a shotgun in your home as long as it's registered. DC, you know, had strict gun rights. It still has strict gun rights, but you know, as far as DC is between Virginia and Maryland, 2 very extremely pro-gun states. So to be honest with you, you know, there's loads of guns that move in and out of DC because every other state has guns. And as you saw, a man drove from, you know, the guy who shot the National Guardsmen weren't criminals in DC. They weren't typical DC people. It was someone who drove all the way across the country with a handgun that wasn't registered, but still legal, and still legally possessed it, and drove it all the way to DC and shot them. So I think the U.S. is kind of refusing to do real comprehensive studies on guns, you know, usage in the U.S. And I think Congress is refusing to enact any laws based on comprehensive understanding. You know, I think that's what it is. I mean, don't get me wrong. Everybody knows in DC you have the right to, you know, there's plenty of people that will shoot your ass in DC. Like if you come into their property or you endanger them. The bottom line is, if you're trying to hurt someone in DC and they have an unregistered weapon and shoot you, if they prove that you were attacking them, they're not going to really have much of a problem. You see what I'm saying? So, you know, I think some people take the gun right thing as just a political debate, but they don't look at how it really works in society, the gun rights. You know, like I'll give you an example. If you were a person that had a gun company and sold, you would just want, under any circumstance, just always gun. The gun is the answer. But the reality is that you can possess a gun and someone can take the gun right out of your hand and kill you with it. Having a gun itself doesn't guarantee your life. The National Guard's person had a gun. Both of them had guns. Did you know that? They both got shot by someone who had a gun and drove it across the country legally. That didn't even register the gun. It was still legal, and shot and killed them. So if you can figure out how, nothing we can do about that. If that's your stance on it, then okay, that's your stance on it. But there's a lot of people that never, just because you have the right to have a gun, there's a lot of people that never possess a gun and nothing never happens to their ass. I mean, you know, it is what it is. Having a gun does not guarantee you come out the winner. You just have to understand that, you know. So, you know, but yeah, do you want more gun rights in DC? Is that what you want? I will guarantee you're probably going to just come up with more shootings, you know. That's what I think, you know. I don't really
of the suspect responsible for a mass shooting at Brown University.
But back to this. Look, what do you think about this? I mean, maybe you won't come out with more shootings. You know, I just think every illegal gun comes from a person who bought it legally. So there you have it. You know, but look at this. What do y'all get from how this guy is walking?
Authorities in Providence, Rhode Island.
What does he look like? Take a guess. What's his ethnicity? Is he an immigrant? Or is he a citizen? Is he a, and I forgot, the name of the show is AKA ICE Doesn't Stop Mass Shootings. Yeah. So I forgot to add that in the title. ICE does not stop mass shootings. They're not there to stop mass shooters. They're only there to stop, you know, old ladies from cleaning your house for $5 an hour. Basically, you know what I'm saying? Not there to get rid of axe murderers or rapists that are illegal. No, that's not what ICE is there for. not there to get rid of this dude. No. ICE was sitting down eating some donuts when this happened and shit. All right, but I think that, I mean, I may as well guess. It's just a guess. I could be wrong, right? I'm not beholden to my guesses. But if I was to guess by the numbers, if I was to make a qualified guess, I would say this dude's a white American. Straight up, American citizen, pure-blooded. I mean, that's if I was to take an educated guess, you know, look at the data, the numbers suggest that's what he is. Okay. But I could be wrong. Hey, I'm not beholden to my guess. I mean, if he's not, I will easily be like, oh, well, here we go. Damn. See, it's not always that. And indeed, it's not always that, you know, it's not always that, you know, but yeah, I just have a, yeah. Do you think they will find a guy? That's a good question. You know, this is what I think the problem is, to be honest with you. If you plan for something like this, yeah, you can get away with it. That's what I think. I mean, if you have a plan that keeps you out of sight of too many cameras, and if you aren't stupid, like you drive your car too far and too close to the location where you're going to use it, if you got to change your clothes, that will help, you know, which is likely. I mean, he might have something under these black clothes that he, you know, can hit a corner or hit an alley and take off, right? change, take his hoodie off, take his jacket off, and then come out later, and reappear. Who knows? Have take 2 cars, have 1 car parked there a day before, or 2 days or 3 days before, or a week before, and then drive the other car to the location and then leave in a different car. If you do some good planning, you might be able to get away with it. But, I think it's hard. This is my biggest problem. He might get away with it. They may catch him, but it ain't going to bring those 2 people's lives back that are lost. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, exactly. No prints. I think this is the real problem. If you're dealing with a real criminal, a person that really wants to get away and does some planning like they want to get away, I think this is almost impossible to stop. I think that's the problem. And, which might be a good reason why you don't want guns everywhere. And you don't, I can tell you this, guns don't replace, access to guns don't mean you had access to an education. Access to guns doesn't mean you have a job that, pays your bills. Doesn't mean you have a fair living wage. Access to guns doesn't mean you have, health care. It doesn't mean you have anything. It just means you have access to guns, and, I just think it's a little weird. I think if you had access to other things, maybe the guns wouldn't come into play so much in the U.S. That's what I think, So I just wonder, I think it's a symbiotic relationship. The access to guns coupled by the lack of access to other things. I think a lot of the hatred in the U.S., I don't know what the motive is for this, but if this is a hate crime, I think a lot of the hatred in the U.S. comes from people being frustrated because they can't pay their bills. It doesn't have any real other thing motivating it outside of fear. And, fear is not necessarily facts or knowing anything. It's just phobia. You know what I mean? And I think that drives a lot of people's anger, and then they need someone to take it out on. I think a lot of it's irrational, behavior that's going on. And yeah, man, these are just my thoughts based on what I know of living in the U.S. versus what I've experienced living outside of the U.S.,
Authorities.
Yeah, I don't know. If this is a trans person, do it even matter? That's what I'm wondering. Like, that's why I don't even care, because I'm like, does it matter? What the fuck? This motherfucker knew what he was doing. Trans or not, this person knew what they were doing. That's one thing I could say. They're not running. So running attracts attention.
Authorities in Providence, Rhode Island, released what they said is video of the suspect responsible for a mass shooting at Brown University. The video shows a person dressed in black walking away along a pavement on Hope Street. The person's face is not visible.
But judging by the walk, the only thing you can really judge is his body structure, his body type, and the way he's walking. I'm just curious about that.
Responsible for a mass shooting at Brown University. The video shows a person dressed in black walking away along a pavement on Hope Street.
If you ask me, it looks like he's got the swag of a white guy. If you ask me, American white dude. Yeah, not to turn it into anything like that, but let's just keep it real. He's not walking like somebody who's playing a lot of basketball. He doesn't have any hop. He has that heel walk, his toes are sticking up. You know what I'm saying? Like, he look at, you know what I'm saying? Like, his toes are up. His heels are down. Look.
Authorities
See,
in Providence,
his toes are popping up, when he walks. That kind of reminds me of, like, a lot of white guys walk like that. Not only it could be wrong, but this just looks. Oh yeah.
Authorities in
he's not walking like a black thug. That's what I'm saying. Okay, because there's white thugs too. He's walking like a white thug. In other words,
Providence, Rhode Island.
He's walking like a white thug. Yeah. I mean, I wonder what his motive is, though. Is it something like, hate?
Authorities in Providence, Rhode Island
He shot a lot of people, so that's usually hate.
released what they said is video of the suspect responsible for a mass shooting at Brown University. The video shows a person dressed in black walking away along a pavement on Hope Street.
Yeah, lest we forget that the one trans shooter was raised as a male. Yeah, exactly. I mean, MAGA's out there trying to find out if it's a trans person. I mean, they trying to find out, was it an immigrant? Was it a trans person? Was it an anti-fascist? That's what they want to know. I don't think this ain't the anti-fascist swag. I don't think so right here. I don't see anti-fascist swag on this guy.
Authorities in Providence, Rhode Island released what they said is video.
But you know what would be really interesting is, what if it turned out to be a girl that was trying to look like a guy, and like they see these videos and they're like, it's a guy, but what if it's a girl? That would really fuck up things, because and just a girl with a plan that said, I want to go down there and look like a guy and do it. I mean, I don't know. Obviously, if you want to get away with this, you're going to have some kind of way of getting under the radar, some sort of way. But again, the data shows that no, this is typical male behavior.
Authorities in Providence, Rhode Island released.
He's not walking. It's not. It looks like a dude.
What they said is video of the suspect responsible for a mass shooting at Brown University.
Yeah, but who knows? Of course, nobody's a genie. I don't know myself who it is, or it's just tragic. And to be honest, it makes me kind of sad. It makes me kind of sad to see this. Yeah, he's walking like he's on a mission. That's what I mean. So I'm almost seeing like some kind of right wing shooter. To be honest, is it Brown has a lot of. I don't know if, let me see. From what I know, Brown is it might be, let me see, what is the makeup of Brown? I mean, Brown is a Ivy League school, right? Brown is an Ivy League school, and nowadays people just hate smart people and shit. You know what I'm saying? They have something with that, this snootiness. You got your nose up, you think you're better than us. You know what I'm saying? Like, that could be the reason. I mean, people laugh at it. There's this thing in MAGA where, woke means you had an education. It means you're intelligent. It means you're considerate. It means you're intelligent. That's what woke means. And they found a way to turn that bad. So you never know. It could have just been like something, Turning Point USA fan, right? They could be like fucking mad at a professor. You don't know what it is. They could be mad just that, I'm almost suspecting it's something like that. I'm almost suspecting it's things like that, but then again, who knows? It's only guessing, and it's fair enough to guess. I don't have a problem with people guessing, but that's what everybody's going to do right now. But if I was to just pull back a little bit, I would say Brown's an Ivy League school. And, right now in the political climate, Ivy League schools are, in this woke thing I'm thinking maybe that could be something there, but who knows, who knows, man. It could also be anything, but I hope they find a person, and I really hope they find a person. Now, the last thing is, cause I got to get out of here, but there has to be some entertainment that we have here. It got to be some entertainment, and I just wanted to pull this up for the entertainment value, because that shooting is really going to bother people, and is going to bother me a lot. But this was, I don't know how many people have seen this. This is Luther Campbell talking to Mark. What's the guy's last name? Mark Roberts. Is that his last name? But in any case, this guy is one of the dudes that worked on reparations. He worked on an older version of reparations, an old reparations bill, not the one that's still current, but an older one. But in any case, he's an advocate of reparations. But he interviewed Luke Campbell about Luther Campbell is like the 2 Live Crew guy. He interviewed Luther Campbell about going to Donald Trump's crib, going to Donald Trump's house, and what he saw. And I don't know how many of you remember this. This was like 4 months ago, and I actually remember it. And now that I went to revisit it, Midas Touch also covered this some months back. But now that I revisited it, it's actually more shocking than it was the first time.
We got cocktails and everything.
Take a listen to this.
And before you know it, the rooms and everything start popping. There wasn't no DJ. It was more of, hey, get in where you fit in. Whatever room you're going to go in, you go into that room.
So you say no DJ. There was no music? Or the music was piped in?
No, there wasn't no music.
No music.
That was the interesting part about it. There wasn't no music.
So women just naked in rooms with no music?
Hey, people walking around. It wasn't, listen, it wasn't nothing wrong with that. I was happy to be at that party, but then at the end of the day, when I started looking at some of these girls' faces, I was like, man, these girls don't look like they're old enough. I didn't ask nobody their age. And then all the other stuff going on, you know, it was like, okay, I can't be up here. I got to go. If I'm going to jail, then somebody's going to extort me. I really, you know, I don't do drugs. Never did it in my life. You know, I smoked marijuana 2 times, you know, when I was in high school, and I didn't like the experience as far as drugs.
You know, Luther Campbell, if you listen to how he talks, I'm pretty sure he does this on purpose, but he doesn't tell you what someone else does, but he always frames it as what he doesn't do. That's his way of saying this is what people were doing there, right? And so just listen one more time. He says that the girls looked young, right? Their faces look young. He's talking about Donald Trump's place, right? And there's a few clips here where he says some really revealing
got cocktails and everything, and before you know it, the rooms and everything start popping. There wasn't no DJ. It was more of
So you know what this reminds me of? This reminds me of that clip of the woman that said that Trump assaulted her when she was 13, 14 years old. She said she went to Jeffrey Epstein's place, or a party organized by Jeffrey Epstein. But what does that mean? Because how does she know who organized it? She's a kid, right? And I've really started to have this feeling like this, what they're talking about here is a party. It's the same type of party, except it's at Mar-a-Lago. You see what I'm saying? And this is in the 90s, right? When he's talking about this. So my thought is like, he mentions all the components that people mention when they're talking about Jeffrey Epstein. Blackmail or extortion, another word for blackmail, right? Young women that are underage. He very, very clearly says that in this series of clips. And yeah. And then he says drugs too. He's
hey, get in where you fit in. Whatever room you're going to go in, you go into that room.
So you say no DJ. There was no music? Or the music was piped in?
No, there wasn't no music.
No music.
That was the interesting part about it. There wasn't no music.
So women just naked in rooms with no music?
Hey, people walking around. It wasn't, listen, it wasn't nothing wrong with that. I was happy to be at that party, but then at the end of the day, when I started looking at some of these girls' faces, I was like, man, these girls don't look like they're old enough. I didn't ask nobody their age. And then all the other stuff going on, you know, it was like, okay, I can't be up here. I got to go. If I'm going to jail, then somebody's going to extort me. I really, you know, I don't do drugs. Never did it in my life. You know, I smoked marijuana 2 times, you know, when I was in high school, and I didn't like the experience as far as drugs. I may have sold drugs. I never liked the people who I sold them to when I was young, because I thought they were stupid for buying it. So I never cared to indulge in it. So when I do see people doing it, if I'm around it, I get away from it. Let me tell you, the thing is, when you're around, I've been around a lot of models and a lot of these pageant women, because that's what mostly it was. It was mostly pageant women. And a lot of these women ain't of age. So when you got a whole bunch of these women running around, whether they of age or not, there's a lot of things going on. You just some women look too young. So you keep it moving.
I see.
So it wasn't nobody beating no women or nobody taking advantage of no women. I mean, they were all enjoying themselves. That's what they were there for. But were they old enough to be enjoying themselves? I don't know.
Was there sex?
Of course there was.
I guess that's a stupid question now to ask. Okay, so I think I got you now. You're saying that all this was going on and you weren't clear as to whether these were adults.
I wasn't clear whether or not they were adults, and I wasn't clear whether or not, whether I wanted to be in that kind of environment where some of these other things that was going on in there. I ain't gonna too much elaborate about everything else that was going on outside of the sexual act. But
well, my brother, we love for you too. We love for you too. That's why we on Sirius.
You want me to?
Because we can open it up. We on Sirius XM. We can bust it wide open right here.
Studies. All right, hold on. All right, one second. Now there's two other clips here too. Let me see. Is that the one anyone? Let me see. Is it this one?
Contest going on, and it was with his pageant contest. He ended up inviting us to the event.
Tell us what happened, Uncle Luke. What happened to that party that made you have to leave?
Well, I mean, it was just a lot of things going on. A lot of things that I don't care to engage in. And he showed us the house, showed us the golf course in the back, all these different things.
They talking about Trump.
Said, man, great house, nice house, and I think I probably was there for every bit of maybe 45 minutes before I realized all these different things that was going on, and I was like, okay, it's time for me to go here.
Now you understand, you are Uncle Luke, you 2 Live crew, so I mean, we're dying to know what was going on that you couldn't engage in.
Man, it was just some things that I don't really care to discuss. Because, I mean, one thing about me, I don't kiss and tell. But at the same time, the party was going on. And, it was a lot of things. Put it this way, there were a lot of things going on. There was a lot of different rooms going on in the house. And every time you open up a door, there was something else going on that I really didn't care to be a part of. So I felt like, hey, look here, man. I'm from Liberty City. At the end of the day, if I wanted to be involved in all those different type of activities, I did that in my hometown. Less long as going to somebody's house where I think they got cameras and everything, be able to take me, and before you know it, you're extorting me. That ain't gonna happen. But
you see. So that I found that very interesting. Also, hold on, let me just bring that back one more time.
They got cameras and everything, be able to take me, and before you know it, you're extorting me. That ain't gonna happen. But one thing about me, I never take no drugs, and I don't get into drugs. So I leave it like that.
Were there drugs there, Uncle Luke?
It was a lot of things up in there. I know I don't take no drugs.
Yeah. So, right. I mean,
we got cocktails and everything, and before you know it, the rooms and everything start popping. There wasn't no DJ.
Wide out and open.
You know what I'm saying? Like you was just imagine the Eyes Wide Shut movie. That's what I felt like I was in. But it had
the Eyes Wide Shut movie.
Some other elements and some other things in there, then that's when I got to go.
Okay. So it was just wide out open sex is what was happening. Was it of the orgy variety?
Well, they were in different rooms.
Mm-hmm.
The man got so many rooms in that house. I ain't never seen that many rooms in a house in my life. But it was more by everybody in all these different rooms. And when you open up a door, it was something going on different in a different room. So you got in where you fit in at.
Different in different rooms, and you get in where you fit in at. That sounds like there's gay activity going on in them rooms. That's what that's in some of the rooms, not all of the rooms, but some of the rooms sounds like that, or what would be considered alternative.
If you feel like you want to go in that room, you go in that room right there with some things going on, some interesting things going in that room. It was just like a regular.
Well, you say you keep saying what? Give me an example of an interesting thing that was going on, if you don't mind.
What would not be interesting? You know what I mean? It's kind of, that's what I took away from it anyway. That
outside of the sex, you got to use your imagination. If it's sex, then it's some other things going on that you don't want to be involved in.
I don't know if
okay, maybe not.
My imagination goes that far. I don't. So if it wasn't sex,
oh no, you a big boy.
No, really, bro.
You in the radio business.
Wait a minute. So wait a minute. Something was going on outside of sex and drugs that was interesting. Well, what could I'm trying to figure out?
Outside of sex.
Outside of sex.
Outside of sex. And then you add whatever else you want to use your imagination. What happens? What happens after that? But there was a lot of things going on. You know, them guys in there, it was going down.
Them guys in there, it was going down.
So was Donald Trump having?
It was one of them parties you would have enjoyed yourself being in.
Well, I don't know, brother. See, I probably would have been like you. I would have rolled out, but why?
Yeah, what does that mean?
Wide out in the open.
Yeah, what does that mean? But in any case, you see that, right? I mean, you've seen that now. Y'all see that. What do y'all think about that? What do y'all think about that? This is crazy. This is crazy. Oh my God. What's going on here, man? Some of y'all in the chat. I didn't know. Oh, okay. Well, I could see you can't mention reparations without it being offensive to some people. They don't understand. They don't have a dictionary in front of them, right? To kind of did you know that reparations is a term used not only specific to one group or one ethnic group? It's used widely across the world. Also not used for specifically one gender group either. There's a lot of different, but in any case, so that's how some people gonna take the word. They get offended by that alone and they lose their mind. Everything else doesn't matter. It's like a good way to get people off of chasing immigrants around is to mention the word reparations, and they will forget immigrants. That's the only thing that will get them to forget immigrants and shit for a second, and get down to And if you want to get them off of reparations, then just talk about immigrants. Maybe it works like that too, right? Immigrants. The conversation is about immigrants. Don't forget now. It's not about reparations. I only said that word once. Okay. But what do y'all think about this in Trump? I mean, you heard it. This is like an old tape with Luke in it. Not that old, but from earlier, maybe some months back. And it seems to have gone under the radar again, because when people reference Trump and people having conversations about him, and actually this one has been forgotten, yeah, somebody said everyone else. Yeah, people get all kinds of reparations. I don't know what it is when it comes down to talking about African Americans, why it offends them. It's like, I don't get it. I really don't get it. It's just, I think it's a lack of, it's just ignorance basically, But in any case, back to this. Yeah. You said I originally thought it was about a Diddy party. No, it's a Trump party. Yeah, exactly. I understand you though about the rooms and all of that stuff and the drugs and he's talking about the men. You know how men do, like, I don't know. Strange thing with men. I don't know. He didn't say that, but he the way he said it made me sound like he was saying there was sex going on with minors, little girls, and then there was gay sex also going on in some rooms. Like he kept saying, you get in where you fit in, and then also drugs. That's what it's, and then also he had the fear of blackmail, Like when you're in a place, somebody got all these cameras and all of this stuff. Obviously, he's talking about Donald Trump's place has a lot of cameras. And so I said this a minute ago. I said, if Donald Trump is hanging around Epstein, he doesn't know, are we supposed to assume he doesn't know Epstein blackmails people? But what I'm curious about is what I think is that he probably trusted Epstein so much he wouldn't think that Epstein would blackmail him. But my thoughts are, how do we know Donald Trump wasn't doing the same thing Epstein was doing and blackmailing people from his place? Like, how do we, I mean, because birds of a feather flock together, right? And Epstein had all these goddamn cameras. Where did he learn that from? And why would two people that are best of buddies, why would Trump not pick up on no blackmail game? Why would Trump, if Trump was going to these parties, did he know that Epstein might have been blackmailing other people even? Did Trump know that? I think there's a lot of things to be answered there. Somebody mentioned Bill Clinton. Yeah, well, look, Bill Clinton, they have a picture of him now in Russia making a deal with Yeltsin. I think the earlier, I don't believe he was the prime minister at that time, but he was still he was coming out of power at that time, I think, when that happened, right? And they have a picture of Trump over there saying that not Trump, but Clinton, where Clinton was arguing that Russia should be a part of NATO. And it just made me wonder, like, why would he say that? And that's interesting because he's a part of the Epstein files too, right? So I just started thinking, damn, is Trump, is Clinton, like, has he been blackmailed from the Epstein files himself? I don't know, but I think it's worth asking a question. If you don't ask questions, you don't get answers. You know what I mean? And to me, I don't start off by saying something's impossible. I start off by asking, is it possible? And then go from there. You see what I mean? Yeah. And if you could believe that Clinton is all in them Epstein files, then why wouldn't you believe he could be blackmailed too? Like, I don't get that part. And a lot of people believe that he was in them Epstein files. And a lot of people believe Clinton was getting down with little girls. So you may as well take the next step and say, yeah, he's probably got blackmailed by somebody. Who knows? I mean, all the proof isn't there about who blackmailed him, but Clinton sure enough did make an argument for Russia to be a member of NATO. Yep. So, yeah, people going to have to find out. I'm not trying to convict Clinton. I'm not really trying to convict anybody because the information is going to speak for itself once they release it, but it seems like similar patterns. It seems like similar patterns, if you ask me, so, yeah, I wouldn't necessarily rule out Clinton at all. Now, on that note, let me just, let me rock one more of these things about that situation here. And, yeah, because obviously these pictures have been coming out. Yeah, there's more information going around about it. Let's see here. These photos, right? Is it these photos? Or is it this one? Hold on.
Newly released photos from Jeffrey Epstein's estate show several elite figures, from former Prince Andrew to Donald Trump, Woody Allen and Richard Branson. The bombshell snaps have been released by Trump's Democrat enemies in the House Oversight Committee on Friday.
Now, I'm having some issue here. Like, are the people blocked out? Are they victims? Is that why they're blocked out? That's my understanding, that at some point there were victims. That's my understanding, because you could see this woman here isn't blocked out. So obviously they don't consider her to be a victim, right? They would never release that publicly that way. So we'll
showing
see.
A string of powerful figures in the convicted sex trafficker's orbit. There is no...
See, there's a picture here of someone blocked out. So I'm believing that this is supposed to be a victim. But who is this? Who is that?
No indication that these images suggest any misconduct, and many of the individuals shown have denied any involvement in wrongdoing connected to Epstein. The release also includes snaps of former President Bill Clinton, ex-White House chief strategist Steve Bannon, and Microsoft
And Steve Bannon, do you think, just Steve Bannon, Does he strike you as the type of guy that would be the good guy in the picture? Like, no, I'm uncorruptible. Don't send any little girls around me, for God's sake. No. Ha ha ha, fellas. No, not me. Do you think he would? Does he strike you as the no guy out of all of them? I mean, Bill Gates of all people. And then if you put if you say yes, Bill Gates would do it, then Steve Bannon also got to go in there too,
There's
I
no
guess.
indication that these images suggest any misconduct,
And whenever they say that, it means they're guilty. There's no indication that these pictures present any misconduct. Yeah, okay. Why you have to say that?
many of the individuals shown have denied any involvement in wrongdoing connected to Epstein. The release
Epstein pleaded innocent too. I mean, who didn't plead innocent?
also includes snaps of former
Did
President
Ghislaine Maxwell? Did she plead guilty? Did she? Let me look
Bill
that up.
Clinton, ex-White House chief strategist Steve Bannon, and Microsoft co-founder Bill Gates. Taken together, the 19 photos appear to underscore how closely Epstein once mixed with some of the world's most influential men, even as scrutiny over those relationships intensifies. Photos from Jeffrey Epstein's estate show several elite figures, from former Prince Andrew to Donald Trump, Woody Allen and Richard Branson. The bombshell snaps have been released by Trump's Democrat enemies in the House Oversight Committee on Friday, showing a string of powerful figures in the convicted sex trafficker's orbit. There is no indication that these images suggest any misconduct, and many of the individuals shown have denied any involvement in wrongdoing connected to Epstein. The release also includes snaps of former President Bill Clinton, ex-White House chief strategist Steve Bannon, and Microsoft co-founder Bill Gates. Taken together, the 19...
Hey, y'all. Ghislaine Maxwell pleaded not guilty to all charges.
Photos appear to underscore how closely Epstein once mixed with some of the world's most influential men.
So it goes to show you they all plead innocent. They've all pleaded innocent. It has nothing to do with whether they're guilty or not. They all plead innocent.
Even as scrutiny over those relationships intensifies. One image shows Trump standing with 6 women with their faces redacted by the committee. Other images include Epstein posing with Steve Bannon in a mirror selfie, Bill Clinton pictured with Epstein, Ghislaine Maxwell, and another couple. Another image is an old snap of Bill Gates standing alongside former Prince Andrew in the 2018 Malaria Former Conference in London. That picture has already been published by Reuters years ago. None of the released images depict sexual misconduct.
Hey, everybody, thank Bits for the memberships.
Or are believed to
Yeah,
show
thank you, Bits. I appreciate that so much. I know I say that, but I do. It's like, it's incredible, actually. I appreciate that so much.
underage girls. The latest snaps were obtained by the committee
And the moderating.
as part of its ongoing investigation into Epstein's activities. Democrats have been accused by allies of the president of desperately trying to pay.
Yeah, I think they all knew also. I mean, it's obvious, isn't it? I mean, of course, you can't convict people that way, but to me, it's obvious. To me, it's obvious. I think it's just the hugest cover up. I think it's everything people should be concerned about. Blackmail. Yeah, a lot of people being blackmailed. And maybe it's difficult to deal with that, to know what to do when you get so many people being blackmailed. Maybe the tendency is for a lot of people to try to cover it up because it's so shameful. It's embarrassing. I mean, think about this. There's different aspects to this. One aspect is what happened to the girls and the victims, right? That's bad enough, right? But the blackmail part of it, that has serious repercussions also, because that means people are manipulating your government. The people that have this information are manipulating the very government that you pay taxes to. That's very bad. That's the worst you can do as a citizen. Pay taxes to a government where there's so many people, numerous people being blackmailed, whether they be in Congress or president or senators or judges. And the point of blackmailing people is to blackmail influential people, people of consequence, not just nobodies. You wouldn't just blackmail somebody that doesn't have a fucking job. You know what I'm saying? It had to be someone who has an important job that you can access, or someone that has a whole lot of money that you can access, or both. You see what I mean? So it's tragic, but I'm not too sure a lot of Americans really think about the blackmail part of it. I'm curious about that, like, because that means someone else can control your government, your president, your judge. That means when you go and if you're a type of person that's saying, man, how come we don't have health care? Well, maybe somebody's being blackmailed every time that issue comes up of which way to vote on health care. What if you say it's about something else? Immigration, maybe. Maybe somebody's getting blackmailed on immigration. Maybe somebody's getting blackmailed when it comes to, anything that goes through the Supreme Court. Maybe someone's being blackmailed anytime something big comes up in Congress because of that, or in the White House. Who knows what it is? But to me, that seems like that would be the worst scenario. And in a scenario, people would want to definitely get to the bottom of this to make sure it comes to an end if it happens, if it's happening. Oops, sorry about that. Hold on, now let's see what they say here.
Today, Democrats on the House Oversight Committee made their own contribution to the public record, putting out several dozen photos that were provided by the Jeffrey Epstein estate. Now, these are just some of the more notable ones. The ranking committee Democrat, Congressman Robert Garcia, calls them, quote, disturbing, and says they, quote, raise even more questions about Epstein and his relationships with some of the most powerful men in the world. To be clear, though, while the photos certainly do include photos of powerful men, the president included, the committee provides absolutely no captions or descriptions to put what we're seeing in any kind of context. And none of the men has ever been charged with any wrongdoing related to Epstein. None of the released images depict any sexual misconduct, nor believed to depict underage girls. For instance, there's this photo of then Citizen Trump with a woman on a plane, but no clue as to whose plane or which woman or when and where this was taken. There's also an image of him surrounded by women, all of whose faces have been obscured. Again, no information about who these women are in the photo, nor when and where this was taken. The president weighed in on the photos tonight.
Well, I haven't seen it, but I mean, everybody knew.
Yeah. Peace, Dylan.
This man, he was all over Palm Beach. He has photos with everybody. I mean, almost, there are hundreds and hundreds of people that have photos with him. So that's no big deal. I know nothing about it.
There are photos as well of Epstein and conservative podcaster Steve Bannon, the president's former White House strategist and longtime booster, but again, no context to the photos. In one of them, we see a framed photo on Epstein's desk of a woman. Her face is concealed, apparently sprawled on a couch or the edge of a bed. Other photos show several more well-known Epstein.
All right, hold on. Let me pull that back. Let me see what that was about here. Let's see one more time. What is this? Can y'all see this? Let me see. Let me try to make that bigger. A woman, yeah, okay, I see it now. A woman sprawled out on a couch with her face covered. Okay. Huh. Yeah. Is it a woman? Is it a child? I mean, how do you know it's a woman? Because a woman is an adult female, right? Yeah. Maybe that was just a mistake saying that, because you don't know. And yeah, but that is it's obvious. It's very possible that it is a child, because they blocked the face out. It's obviously someone they consider to be a victim, right? In some way, shape, or form. So
we see a framed photo on
Yo, who said that, Ruffy? I think some Supreme Court judges is in it somehow. I think so too, and it kind of underscores this whole idea of like a permanent justice seat. I'm not with that. I think that's got to change. People, that's not secure enough. It's not secure. Too much corruption can come through the Supreme Court. I mean, just think about it. If you can corrupt the Supreme Court, well, then you can stop anything from happening.
Epstein's desk of a woman. Her face is concealed, apparently sprawled on a couch or the edge of a bed. Other photos show several more well-known Epstein acquaintances. This film director Woody Allen with Epstein, apparently a filming location. There's Epstein with the British billionaire Sir Richard Branson. There's a shot of Bill Gates with Britain's then Prince Andrew, though again, like all these photos, no context. This photo shows former President Bill Clinton, Jeffrey Epstein accomplice Ghislaine Maxwell, and 2 other people. We should note that late tonight, Republican House Oversight Committee Chairman James Comer threatened contempt proceedings against Bill Clinton and Hillary Clinton if they don't appear for depositions on Epstein next week. Also among the photos, this one of a satirical Trump.
Look, I mean, does he really have to appear? I mean, does he have to appear for that? I'm not sure. I'm not sure about that. Does he have to appear? Let me see something. I have this rule, and the rule is it's no need to guess about everything. It's one thing to have an opinion, but this is a clear question. Let's see here. Let me just find that out.
Condom made by a New York novelty.
Yeah, what the hell is this? This has just got guilty all over it. I'm sorry. This guy's got he made Trump condoms. It says here that Bill Clinton is, yes, the House Oversight Committee has subpoenaed Bill Clinton and Hillary Clinton to appear for depositions in its investigation into Jeffrey Epstein and Ghislaine Maxwell's crimes. The subpoenas were issued earlier this year and renewed. Scheduling, the committee set December 17th, so that's just in a couple of days, 3 days. Yeah, 3 days for Bill Clinton's deposition and the 18th for Hillary's. Oh, they want that, right? They want this to take up health care. So, take the attention off of health care, give people some red meat. They've been negotiating scheduling, but they have not yet appeared as the latest public reports. Okay, risk of contempt. The committee chairman, Rep. James Comer, from Kentucky, right, Republican, has threatened to start contempt of Congress proceedings if Clinton's fail to appear, or at least confirm a scheduled date in early January. Okay, that's changed now. Okay. Oh, so he's giving him a little extra time. Okay, that's interesting. The congressional subpoena is not the same as a criminal charge. It compels testimony. If someone refuses, Congress can hold them in contempt, which is a separate enforcement process. Every individual, including former presidents, is legally obligated to respond to a valid congressional subpoena, but enforcement involves legal proceedings rather than immediate arrest. Bill Clinton has been subpoenaed to testify under oath to Congress in Epstein-Maxwell's inquiry. He is expected to appear on the 17th or 18th early January. House Republicans are threatening contempt of Congress. Okay, those contempts. And I'm curious, can he go to jail? Let me just look that up.
Shop. One of those condoms is actually in the Smithsonian, though it's not on display. And more photos of Epstein himself, one in a tub, apparently taking a bubble bath, another at a bookstore, Barnes & Noble, apparently holding a book about himself over his face. Finally, there's this, unclear where it was taken, a GX99 massage therapy system. Joining me now, Democratic Congresswoman Melanie Stansbury.
Okay, there has to be a vote to hold him in contempt. He could go to jail eventually after a long legal process, which is unlikely, but it has to be a vote. If Bill Clinton refuses to appear for a valid House subpoena without a negotiated accommodation, the House can vote to hold him in contempt of Congress. That's step one, not prison yet. Okay, so that's step one. There are 3 enforcement paths Congress can take. Criminal contempt, most talked about. The House refers to contempt citation to the Department of Justice. Okay, they refer it to the DOJ. DOJ decides whether to prosecute. This is a choke point. Okay, they will probably say yeah for him. Penalty of prosecution and conviction up to 1 year in jail, fine $100,000. So they're probably, but how many votes do they need to have? Let me see here. Okay. How many votes does Congress need to have to find him in contempt. I mean, this year has been, this shit with Trump has been really, one where you just always have to research, because there's so many aspects of every little thing that they're doing. I mean, how many votes are required? Committee vote. The House committee that issued the subpoena oversight must vote. Simple majority committee members present. Okay. So if 25 members are present, 13 votes would be enough. Okay. So the Republicans have the majority anyway, right? So they would be able to do it. It sounds like it. Yeah, they would be able to do it. It sounds like it. I'm gonna look in a little more, but.
Who sits on the committee that released the photos. Congresswoman, why did Democrats on your committee choose to release these photos now, and can you give any context around them? Do you know the context of them?
Yeah, so I was briefed on this release this afternoon, as I understand it, on Thursday afternoon, the estate notified the committee that they had additional documents to produce in response to the subpoena that the committee had issued. This would be the fourth tranche of documents that have been released. As you recall, the first was the birthday book. The second was flights, schedules, and a series of documents. And the third were the emails that were these explosive documents a few weeks ago. And so the latest is a set of photographs that seem to come from an iCloud account that Jeffrey Epstein held, as well as photos that were attached to emails. And as was explained to me by the attorneys from the committee, there was no context provided by the estate. So there are 95,000 photos released by the estate. The attorneys went to New York to meet with the estate to authenticate that these were indeed from the estate, and they were released to the committee. As the attorneys explained to me, they are only about 10% through the entire photograph cache, and that there are many more very, very disturbing photographs, including potentially photographs of sex acts and other disturbing photos in this cache of documents. And so I don't know this.
Do you think they have anyone else besides Epstein in photos with some of these minors or individuals, even if they're not minors? Do you think that that there's photographs of others or video of others besides Epstein, involved in these acts? Yeah, put a 1 in the chat if you think so. Put a 2 in the chat if you don't. Yeah, I think there is, but that's my guess. But we will see. I mean, I think at this point, it's. I think I'm not. I want to see all. I don't want to make any type of judgment. I just think the proper thing to do is release everything, then make a judgment, because the reason why I say that is because the bottom line is that, look, out of thousands and thousands and thousands of pieces of information, there could be 3 pieces that are so horrific. You need to know those if they exist. You see what I mean? And yeah, it could be. You see what I'm saying? So in this kind of thing, it's like, it just seems like there's something there very bad, and the process of getting it out is just laborious, like it is. And people have to be patient. Like, don't give up. Be vigilant. Remember, these files are owned by the American United States citizens. These are our files. We own them. They're no longer anybody else's property. They're ours. So this shit needs to be released, and it affects our lives. It affects our country. Anytime there's anything, number one, about victims, people on this scale being harmed, but number 2, the implication also of blackmail and extortion of leaders and aristocrats and these types, that's highly problematic to everybody's life. And I just hope they don't try to pass it off in the end like, no, don't worry. You don't need to know it's top secret. Fuck all that top secret shit. No, this ain't top secret no more. We need it all out. Forget that. There's already enough top secret shit. No. This type of craziness going on, with these people, and they want our tax dollars to pay them. They want us to pay them, but we can't know that what is going on. There can't be no limits put on it. Nah. Enough is enough, man. The American people, no matter if you're Republican or you're Democrat or you're independent or not, you deserve better. You deserve, at the very minimal, you deserve to have everything released, like straight up. For me, this is a matter of citizenry. Like, it's our country, and it's only us that can take care of it. You see what I mean? At this point, because they have violated people's trust so deeply at this point, it's like, nah, man, fuck that. We pay a lot of taxes in the U.S. We pay a lot of taxes. And like I said, at best, only 50% of it goes directly back to you or your community. Like, this is not a joking matter. This is a matter of the quality of life you have. And if someone can manipulate the quality of life you have by blackmailing politicians or judges or anything like that, that shit got to be cleaned up. It has to be cleaned up, But but on that note, I got to be out, y'all. I appreciate y'all for coming through. Everybody, so much. I appreciate you all so much. Bits. It's been cool today. We did have the blockers up, and I saw Bits. I don't know if you had some blockers up too, but it was good to get some of the trolls out of there too. We can't always have like this open damn dynamic where there's just lunatic trolls coming through here. I mean, it's good for the algorithm though. Trust me, it's good for the algorithm, but sometimes it stops the conversation in the chat from being decent. You know what I mean? It can't have a bunch of indecent people in there just saying anything, trying to take advantage of others by being rude, But Thorn, you too. I appreciate that. No doubt. Thank you. One way, one truth, one life. I appreciate you too. Bits, of course, I appreciate you also. Man, you guys are really awesome. Rafiq, appreciate you too. You all have been really, really awesome. Everybody in the chat. I don't even have to agree with you or, but I appreciate you coming out. Michelle, what is that? Destiny? Is the Destiny D Ford? I appreciate you for coming out also. Everybody. Edward, you too, Thornton. I appreciate that, right? Thanks for coming out, indeed. And anybody else that I missed, no doubt at all. I will be back. I might take. I'm off tomorrow actually. So tomorrow I'm going to be doing 2 different streams at some different times because I'm free. But until then, everybody have a pleasant Sunday and make the best out of it. I hope you with your loved ones or at your your friends, family, whatever you got, and just have a pleasant day. Even if you by yourself, kick back and enjoy some peace and some good. In Danish they call it hygge. You know what I'm saying? Some comfortable time, chilling out, whether it's with others or not. I hope you enjoy this Sunday. So on that, I bid you all farewell and see you in the next 24 hours. Bless. All right. Oops, what happened?
Ladies and gentlemen.
There it is. Peace out. I'll see you on the other side. I'll see you on the other side. Much love, Rafi.
They want war. Crime babies looking for food. Starvation, the recipe. People subdued. When the people you trust got it in for you. Deceit is the word of the day in every crew. Don't let it go. It's from the days of old. Time is up, but some still do not know. Can I make up my mind? Is it worth the dime? Do I have to take a minute just to make it mine? Life's never fair, but don't listen to the TV. Go out and take a listen to the streets with the people in the slums and the homeless bums. With degrees and degrees sitting under a tree. It's not easy in the world for the poor man, the one that brought you to reality. See, they don't want you to know about the black sheep. Leaving 7 roads to the 12 families all around the globe with an ancient code. Is it really asking a lot to say a death ode? Cause we sitting on the earth looking back at extinct, and I'm standing on some ground that's about to sink. I ain't scared for a minute, I ain't about to blink. but I documented for the world what I see and think. Feel we on the call and I feel we on the break. All Congress gonna do is waste paper and ink. Vote or die. You voted and you'll die. You can have it both ways, can't say it's a lie. You can march all you want, but they playing you wrong. They only understand war, it's the same old song. They want war, all they really want is a war. Diversionary tactic to make the big score. The diamonds in the morning, you know they want more, but they wanna keep you low, so they manifest the war. All they really want is a war. Diversionary tactic to make the big score. The diamonds in the morning, you know they want more, but they wanna keep you low, so they manifest the war. Like a lotus coming out of the mud with colors, I create envy in those with power but jealous. I unify the poor with my song, the hell with the others. Descended the way they treat indigenous brothers, cause I understand we link forever. They try to hate us even though that we keep it together. I'm not talking about controlling the air or the weather. I'm talking about maintaining the truth, the high endeavor. A rebel drops bombs in the midst of trouble. The free world counterattack and now there's double. But nature gets the shit in a way that's subtle. If you stop the machines for a minute you might hear, but they won't cause the TVs whisper in the ear. And capitalism has eyes that don't tear, and they cloud up and get crazy and won't stare. And like an ab, it's hard to get an ass to listen. Living like this is like living in prison. It's hard to keep hope when you're living in prison. The spiritual thoughts, so yes, the mental prison. The outside, yes, it's got to get through. Something's gotta die, so something here can live. Your life is nothing if you got nothing to give. Keeping the spiritual, yes, disguised as religion. Controlling your mind, the mental prison. They want war, all they really want is a war. Diversionary tactic to make the big score. The diamonds in the morning, you know they want more, but they wanna keep you low, so they manifest the war. All they really want is a war. Diversionary tactic to make the big score. The diamonds in the morning, you know they want more, but they wanna keep you low, so they manifest the war. I know how to see a whack MC when he bustin', but I just back away real cool, no fussin'. I'd rather go kicking in the streets with the bums and use the knowledge to collect what? Some funds. Open a non-profit and build a damn school. And this is the story of how a great king rules. There's many that claim to know the local demographic, but don't have the nerve to tell you the truth. It's tragic, but I do, so sit back and let me spit this shit to you. You feel better when I spit this shit to you. Despite the system trying to clamp down on the people will learn how to stand up to evil. Not evil that's across the globe, that's too far, but evil that lies in their own backyard. And fighting, it's not an option, they can't win. The government, it's not supposed to represent sin, but then again they do, and that's a problem. So let's go down and figure out how to solve them. It's not fun being a rapper that can't speak, but we do, yes, and plus we make fat beats. Yo, we smoke weed, break up trees, listen, bringing fat beats, that is our mission. You wanted to see us, homeboy, shut up and listen. Thelonious and Big Bennett, brother, check the vision. Mentalities of different realities. Enter the Star Trek room when you hear the boom. I be the Walkman with the super bass. Automatic stop, yes, stereo cassette player. With the delayer, freaky lyrical sprayer. Extraterrestrial rhyme sayer. I be the poetical VIC/master of the ceremony. Tenderoni, won't you come step with me? I'm on a historical journey, kinda like Sigourney. And represent the attorney that represents my niggas. Go figure, it's the card. They call me Uncle Vigor. Niggas fuck your blunts, down your liquors. I read the parallel to the fiction. You're fixated on this brother's nature. Relaxed behavior, I might save your change. Flip it, rearrange. The whole concept, yo, is good for all your brain. Insane, psychotic, neurotic, black onyx, and hooked on phonics, just atomic. Bees like a bonnet. Cut with the Asiatic, they all up on it. Rhyme static with the Bugatti type of skill. You wonder, is this nigga Vic really for real? It's still, but only necessary in the berry. I'm milk like dairy, they quite contrary. That's scary, but I'm a dog in the prairie. I scurry to grab my bones and just worry. Lyrical flurry, go get your secretary with impeccable diction. My style might vary, so get a hold of your own shit real fast. Fucking with us, we take it right out your ass. Prairie dogs chill while the other dogs howl. Too many dogs get sent to the pound. Back on the hill, me and my peeps just lounge. Prairie dogs, we keep it on the down. Splatter, don't like gun splatter. We try to climb the ladder, wicked men get better. They make it like splatter, but it really don't matter. Cause you know we coming back to our sons and our daughters. Father him the one who protects ya, and the mother she will never neglect ya. Through divine nature the people respect ya, and in this way I deliver my lecture.